All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2025 predictions / overview video. So if I've never gotten an amount of comments like I have over the past 2 months of Cameron, where's your 2025 year ahead horoscopes for the zodiac signs? Things have been so crazy. I have myself playing. I gotta turn myself off. There we go. I have gotten so many comments about that. They will come at some point. There's so much shit going on in my life right now that I'm going to get to it. And so I figured, why not do a live stream? The other reason I wanted to do a live stream too was, number one, I saw an Instagram reel about how like no one knows what day it is because Wednesday of Christmas was a Saturday and that next day was a Sunday. And anyway, let me know if you saw that reel. But time is very weird right now. I figured not a lot of people were doing things on this Friday night because we all did stuff on Tuesday night going into Wednesday. That, and I've been wanting to make a video about both my predictions and just the overview of the year. So I hope you guys are comfortable. I think we're going to be here for a while. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about because a lot of shit has happened. And so a lot of shit has happened in I think the past, couple days since New Year's that I think is really important to talk about. So what we're really going to be going over in this video is all of the major transits for 2025. And these are going to be the same transits that I talk about in the year ahead forecasts. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to also make some predictions. And so we started off 2025 with a bang, and that's the Mars-Pluto opposition. And what did we see? We saw 2 terrorist attacks, one in New Orleans, one here in Vegas. And what was really interesting about the Las Vegas one is I just recently moved to Las Vegas. Again, this is my fucking 4th time moving here. As some of you already know. I'm going to try to also read some of your comments as they go along. It's really hard to remember what you're saying, do stuff with the computer, and read comments at the same time. And sometimes your guys' comments like fuck with my mind a little bit. So I'm like, wait, what? Like Ariana Tong says, can you please discuss what's going to happen with Meta and AI? We are going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about the future of social media. We're going to talk about World War III and other terrorist events. We're going to talk about how, on one perspective, life is going to get crazy. And on another perspective, life is going to get really good. And I know that's quite the dichotomy to have, but there's a lot to really discuss here. And so I actually just want to start off with so let's talk about this Vegas bombing. Number one, if you know anything about anything, I haven't read the manifesto. I'm about to actually, after I get off of this, I'm going to listen to the Sean Ryan show. He has a guest that's talking about it. But why this is important, if you don't give a shit about the guy with the Cybertruck that bombed the Trump building, I'm going to explain to you why you should give a shit. I have expressed to people that we are going to go into a time of conflict here in the US. And for a lot of people, they don't actually really understand what I mean when I say that. Like, it sounds far away. It sounds made up. But imagine if someone in 2019 told you, hey, in 2020, you won't be allowed to go to a restaurant. You won't be allowed to go to work. Everything will be locked down. They will shut the world down. You would also not be able to comprehend that, which is fine, which is normal. But this Las Vegas thing and this guy running people over in New Orleans, expect more of that. A lot of people are really excited about like Trump winning the election because Trump, I would also agree, is arguably the more pro-peace candidate versus Kamala. Now, that might rustle a lot of feathers, but you could just literally look at a track record. Now, why that's worrisome, though, is Syria just collapsed as well, and that's now old news. And if you're also not familiar with geopolitics, like Syria collapsing is kind of crazy. And also, too, it's just funny that we're paying Israel all this money to like go after Hamas, right? But we're funding the same terrorists. We're saying we're funding terrorists too to take over Syria. So it all doesn't matter. And if you're really hell bent on a side right now, you're really losing the plot. But I'm saying all that to say is like, look around. If you like Syria collapsing, these 2 terrorist attacks are pretty interesting in and of themselves. We're going to have more stuff like this. And it's really important to note. And the fact that we started this month off, the year off with 2 of them, not to mention too, there's the whole the kid. Who's the kid that shot the CEO? This violence and these power dynamics. Like Pluto going into Aquarius, and now that Pluto's into Aquarius, that's the first domino of 2025. I've said a lot. 2025 is the year that everything changes. Pluto goes into Aquarius permanently. We'll have Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, Saturn in Aries, Jupiter in Cancer, so on and so forth. Pluto being the first domino, a lot of people think Pluto's going to be this amazing thing in Aquarius, but like Pluto literally means like corruption, death, power. And I mean, look at Pluto in Capricorn. At the very finale of Pluto in Capricorn was COVID. And literally that was the most corrupted event that we've seen in a while, really since like 9/11. And we saw like this ultimate power move by corporations. So when you see Pluto going into Aquarius, like there is a lot of power in, again, society and groups of people. But if you don't think that there's going to be more death with people, it's the most cold read you can do. Sometimes your best read can be done from just reading it literally. Pluto rules death and Aquarius rules people. And, you know, like, again, we're letting missiles go into Russia now. Like, I don't think you guys understand. They tried to kill Trump twice. And when I say they, if you don't think that there's something, at least you, even if you wanted Trump to die, if you don't think there's something at least a little bit suspicious about that first assassination attempt, the people that think it was faked is really funny, because it's just like, you don't understand ballistics. But anyway, I'm saying all that to say, I find that very potent. Thank you, Hippie Chai Chai, for the super chat. But this is going to be a really crazy year, and we're going to talk a lot more about it. But pretty much, let's just go ahead and look at what we've got going on so far. If you guys are in the chat, comment below. Just like last year, I'm going to have slides like this, and I'm going to do my best to not ramble and rant, although I will have some rambling and ranting. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So first thing, this is yesterday. I actually made a video about the astrology of death yesterday. This was my father's birthday, and I scattered the last of his ashes that I have over in Lake Havasu yesterday. I made a video about it that once I'm able to get it to Parker, who will edit it, it'll be out. But we'll talk a little bit about the death astrology of death. I'm going to do my best to like not get distracted with comments all the time, but this is an interesting comment. So you know what's really interesting is a lot of people, when during the Trump's candidacy, everyone's like, oh my God, Project 2025 is the scariest thing, right? I haven't heard that term in like 2 months, but I'm a tinfoil hat wearer. And when I say that, I mean, like, I know stuff that your algorithms don't even serve you. Like, I've seen the darkest corners and alleys of everything. There was something in 2022 I saw called, I swear to God, it was called Project 2025. If not, it was called, what was it called? Like something 2025, like Project 2025. And it was about a new disease, a new pandemic. My thing is, could this happen? Yes, I'm not really exactly seeing it. However, I've told people a lot. I've been on my Christian shit lately. And me and my mom were talking about this, because me and my mom are pretty, anti-mask. I didn't get the jab or anything like that. But in the Bible, it says that during the apocalypse, that the first disease, the first pandemic, the first plague won't be bad, but people will overreact to it. But the second one will be bad. And then when you also think about that, like, for example, again, we're doing tinfoil hat stuff here, but again, how crazy is this at this moment? Holy shit, someone said they just got swatted. That's crazy. But, it's interesting that there was a lot of people that wanted to not be a part of society and not listen to the rules, and they were very rebellious, right? Imagine if a second virus comes and it is deadly, and that same group of rebellious people, they all die, and the only people that survive are the people that are obedient to the government. That's an interesting theory to think about. Just saying, all right? But anyway, January starts with Mercury leaving shadow. This Mercury retrograde, genuinely, I can't say it wasn't fucking awful in terms of like life just sucked. It was just like, wow, Mercury had zero dignity. It had zero help. It had zero resources, and it was just a mess. That was a lot, and I'm glad mentally I'm over it, but I'm really looking forward to Mercury moving into Capricorn to really kind of like fix all of the problems. We get to today. This is Mars retrograde opposite Pluto. Thank you for the super chat, Anna Marie. Pair character dancing under a rain of confetti and taking it. Oh, this is what I see. If you guys super chat an emoji, this is what I see. Someone's just saying pair character dancing under a rain of confetti and taking his hat off to say you are amazing. Thank you. What up, Peyton? Shout out Peyton. Peyton runs the Discord. Anyway, so by the way, why aren't you guys on the memberships yet? So Mars goes opposite Pluto, right? And again, this is something I ranted on in one of my last weeklies, is just a lot of the Mars retrogrades, a lot of people are dealing with a loss of confidence. Like having your tail tucked between your legs is really what's going on right now. And you know what's crazy? You know what saying I've been hearing a lot of people say that I haven't heard in years is people being like, I need to go lick my wounds. What? Lick my wounds? When the fuck did that people start saying that? I've heard like 4 different people say that within like the past week. Like so I just felt like that's very cat energy. But the Mars Pluto opposition. For a lot of this is about the facing fear stuff, which by the way, like I've sent the email out. I've talked about on Instagram. The webinar I'm doing on Sunday is really about what's going on with this Mars retrograde opposite Pluto. Here's what's going on. Is Mars is retrograde in Leo. We are losing that confidence. There might be the struggling with confidence, or again, whether it's like moving forward and just kind of again having our tail tucked between our legs. And it's opposite Pluto. Pluto is like fear. It's at its simplest form. This is the test of whether or not you're going to allow fear to stop you, or you're going to keep going. This is why I've talked to people about like, hey, like war's coming and all this crazy stuff, and people are like, oh, why are you being so negative? I'm not. In fact, this, in my opinion, is the time. Like, if you're not ready to make a change now, then you're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. And if you're terrified, and especially if you're trying to make these changes now, and if you just go, oh, you know what? No, I hit a roadblock. It's not going to happen to me. You've got it all fucked up. Like, that's why I'm trying to make this webinar is like, how to get where you need to go is literally like so laid out in the astrology. And all I want to do is help you guys get there. I have the link, I think, in the description, but check out the webinar I'm doing on Sunday because I want you guys to actually make the fucking changes in 2025. And it's really fucking easy. Like this framework is super fucking laid out with how the planets are. I can't, if I say any more, I'll spoil it. But long story short, this Mars retrograde opposite Pluto is really for me, I've also felt this today is like, are you going to back down and are you going to play small when you get rejected? Like, let's say, I know most of my audience is women. So most women will never understand this. They get rejected one time and it's like they hold on to that. Guys get rejected, a million times in your lifetime. But like you go up to someone who's attractive and you hit on them, right? Or you try to hit on them and you get like rejected. Is that the last time you ever talk to somebody? No, but the first time stings. That's what this is right now. Is this, I want to put myself out there. I want to feel this way, but you're going to have that roadblock. You're going to feel the force of fear being pressed upon you. And why this is important too is I've tried to tell people about this. Imagine if the universe just gave you everything that you ever fucking wanted when you wanted it. You would never be doing what you actually want to do because you'd just be getting yes to everything. Like when people say, oh, I want to start a business or I want to do this in my life, and then they do it, but then they get some sort of a rejection or some sort of bad thing. They go, oh, well, the universe told me, no, I shouldn't do that. It's like, yeah, the universe told you, no, you shouldn't do that. It's not necessarily, no, you shouldn't do it. It's that it's saying, hey, do you actually want to go forward with this? Are you actually about it? And if you push through that resistance, that's how you actually get it. It's just about how bad you want it. And those roadblocks are set up for your safety. Like you're not wasting your time. Does that make sense? And so the rejection is protection. That's a really good point, Nicole. The thing is with this Mars retrograde opposite Pluto, you're probably feeling the fear, you're probably feeling the sting, and it's just going to be how it's going to be. I want you to think about your 5-month transformation right now, which is in May. So in May, you're going to be different. Everything's going to be different. How do you want things to be in your life? And I want you to remember this moment. And I want you to say, no, I don't want to feel this way. I want something bigger. I want something better. I want to make the changes. I want the fucking changes I want to see in my life. And you know what I keep thinking about? Something that really inspires me. And this might be a little extreme for you guys. And I'm not saying to do this, okay? But what has always inspired me is the story about how Alexander the Great kind of came to be. And when I say inspire, I look at this as more so of while this was a very, for the time, it was a very normal situation maybe, but look, like today, this situation would not fly. But essentially, Alexander the Great, his dad died. Paul, what's something of Macedonia? Paul of Macedonia, I can't remember his name. He dies. Alexander the Great becomes king. He goes to the Oracle of Delphi. Oracle of Delphi is like your local tarot card reader who gives the fucking oracles to everybody, but she's like in the upper echelons. Like she's, imagine like a tarot card reader for like, fucking Jeff Bezos and shit. That's pretty much who the Oracle of Delphi is. So Alexander the Great goes to the Oracle of Delphi and says, hey, I want an oracle. Tell me an oracle about my life. Tell me that I'm going to be like the greatest leader that ever, I don't think he actually said, tell me that I'm going to be the greatest leader, but he's like, I want an oracle. Oracle of Delphi says, no, I'm not going to give you one. He grabs her. He then goes up to her and grabs her by the throat. And I think like beats her. And is like, tell me a fucking oracle. And she's like, you're going to be the greatest, conqueror that ever was. And literally right after that, he set off for his conquest. Why did I say that inspires me? Is because there's something about denying. Like, for example, some people will read a tarot card. They'll get a tarot card and they think that tarot card is now permanently tattooed into your life. And that example is so powerful because he said, fuck your stupid oracle. Tell me what I want to hear. And it happened. And so in my opinion, there's something really powerful about rejecting like what scary things you think the universe is throwing in front of you. And so I say that because like, this is your 5-month transformation. I want you to think about where you're at right now. I want you to think about how things feel. And I want you to feel, I don't want to say the badness, but just like, hey, do you want to feel this way or do you want to feel something greater? And are you going to sit here and bitch about it? Are you going to sit here and be a pansy about it? Because life's tough. I know a lot of people in this spiritual world like gaslighting you, but I had a client the other day. She lost her tongue to cancer. And she talked really silly. And I know if she's watching this, I'm not making fun of her. But because at first I wasn't understanding what she was saying, but she said, I don't even want to like say how she said, but she said, life isn't for pussies. But imagine saying that, say that out loud. Life isn't for pussies, but try not using your tongue. That's what she sounded like. It was really funny, but it was really true. Things are going to get fucking tough, but you're tougher. You're stronger. At least you have the potential to be. You just have to take the action about it. I'm smiling because that's a lot of what this fucking webinar I have. I'm so fucking stoked about it, guys, because I haven't done shit like this before, but we're going to pretty much be talking about, hey, you have anything that you want in your life, you can get, and the framework of how you can get anything you want is literally laid out in the planets, and it's so fucking simple, and I have example after example after example after example to where you're going to fucking walk away being like, wow, I'm literally retarded for not thinking it was easier than this. It is easy, but that starts. Now we get to January 6th. We get the Mars retrograde Cancer. Okay, so sorry, I peeked this. What does this about the drones in the sky? Stop paying attention to this. Stop paying attention to this. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to understand this kind of like, what's going on? It's one of those things of like, this is not as important as you might think it is. This is probably something going on probably with the government. Again, the Pentagon like didn't comment on it. And the FBI, they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to like what the mayor says in a PR conference. That is just the lie that they're serving up to you. And you can learn a little bit from the lie. But this isn't that big of a deal. But again, you're also, they're getting ready for World War III. Guys, I wanted to get the articles ready, but I kind of decided to do this live stream last minute because I was really tired. But I was like, fuck it, I want to do this live stream. Finland is now, I think it was Finland. It's either Finland or Austria is now setting up like every kid has to learn how to shoot a rifle now. Europe is very anti-gun, and they're now setting up in different countries, schools for kids to learn how to shoot and operate a rifle. You think they're doing that because of their progressive socialist values? Or do you think they're doing that because war is happening? Or do you think they're getting people ready to say, hey, you might need this gun here in a minute? You ought to probably know how it works. So don't worry about the drones. The drones are a symptom of what is coming. It's just don't worry about it. Don't think about it. It's just, yeah, it's obvious. You know what's coming. And it's not the big thing. It's not the big thing. And it's what frustrates me about a lot of the conspiracy theories is they're very like, oh my God, this one thing right here. It's like, dude, did we not know everything else that's down the pipeline? Anyway, Mars goes back into Cancer on January 6th. Why is that important? Well, that's the next big transit that we get. It's happening on January 6th. Are we going to get a January 6th? I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think the Kamala people are that hell-bent on changing the election, but it just came out like not even a month ago that it was proven. It was like, I think there was 28 FBI agents that were inside of January 6th. Like, come on, guys. Why do we all have to be so divided on this? Like, it was all feds. Feds did all that. Like, I was just watching a documentary about Ruby Ridge today. Oh, the whole Ruby Ridge incident was literally like fucking Fed informant and Fed informant and Fed informant all commingling together just to create a clusterfuck where, you know, a fucking woman and a child gets shot in the fucking face for nothing. Like it's like the same rigmarole. So anyway, so the Mars goes back into Cancer. My only issue with it is, again, it's not like, ooh, let's take a breath of relief. Let's chill out. Everything's back to normal. We're not in election season. Like, no, things are going to get crazy. Is something going to happen on January 6th? I don't think so. But to you, though, Mars goes retrograde back into Cancer. How's that going to feel for you? And how a lot of that's going to really look is Mars is retrograde in Leo right now, right? Like tail tucked between our legs. We're losing that confidence. Well, there's something deeper going on. And that's what this is about, is we need to examine a little bit deeper what this issue is. Why do we feel this way? What's really going on the inside that we don't want to talk about, that we don't want to look at? Because that's what this is about. So, Twisted Reality says, I've been screwed for so long. You think this year will be different? Not with that attitude. No, you'll be screwed this year too if you have that attitude. In search of bunker buddies. Well, Poland is also super based. Poland is ridiculously based. So anyway, let's go to this. Mercury goes into Capricorn on January 8th. Are you guys... So this is, by the way, when the new year, like... So you know how like on New Year's Day, it's usually like, yes, I'm ready for the new year. We're feeling it. Like, I don't think that happens still here because we're still in this Mercury retrograde hangover where it's just like... It's just everything's loud. I have this huge list of things to do. I'm barely getting it done. Mercury going to Capricorn is like locking in a little bit more mentally. But this is what I want to talk about. I'm going to make a video about this. Talking about the North Node and the South Node. If you don't know this already, one of the best videos I've ever done is on my membership website. It's the lecture I did about the nodes. I'm so proud of that lecture because I really feel like it's like the nodes when I was learning astrology were so annoying and so hard for me to understand. But this lecture, like, again, it comes with, if you jump on the learn tier for my website, you'll get the how to read your birth chart course. And on that course has the nodes. And it's very simple. It's very basic, but it goes in depth on what the nodes mean, how they come about, and why they mean what they mean. But if you're not familiar with what the nodes are not a planet, but they show you, there we go. They show you where the eclipses are happening at any given point. And so right now the North Node is at 0 Aries. The nodes move backwards from zodiacal order. So they retrogress. They move clockwise versus the planets move counterclockwise. So the North Node by this point moves into Pisces and the South Node moves into Virgo. Now, what does this mean? On some simple stuff, the North Node is about like what we're hungry for. It's kind of like where the wind is pushing us towards. Like if you are trying to head south, but the wind is pushing you north, you're probably going to go north. Does that make sense? If you have no input. As the North Node goes into Pisces, it's going to hit Neptune. What could you guys gather from this? Like in the comments, let me know. What could you gather from that? What do you know about Neptune? Spirituality, deception, media, fantasy, illusion. I've talked a little bit about the 2025 is about being delusional. And what do I mean by that? So for example, why do people have faith? Why do people have faith? People who are faithful, like they have a religious, and they're disciplined, it's typically because that's all they got. I just saw a thing from Grimes. It was like someone was making fun of Grimes, and she's the weird alien girl that, banged Elon Musk. It was like a comment. She's like, I had to get into Christianity in order to quit vaping. And it was so funny to me of like, yeah, you can't, like, that must have been really tough for her quitting vaping. And like, you fucking need religion to go through some shit like that. You need a faith. And the North Node going into Pisces, Pisces is all about the things that are truthful that you can't always articulate, right? Like, for example, with science wants to be materialistic about everything in the universe, but there's just certain things that you can't prove, right? Like, where's studies on like love? You can't. The South Node, though, I feel like talking about the North Node going into Pisces is easier by explaining what the South Node in Virgo is. We all understand what Virgo is, right? It's like analyzing, it's data, it's organization, it's black and white. And the South Node is draining. It's the South Node like takes things away, and it makes things gross, and it takes things away. And so the South Node's going through Virgo. Essentially what this is like how you got to get through 2025 is saying, I don't care about your sources. I don't care about what this is. I know what my truth is. And I know that sounds corny. I know that sounds cliche. But for example, when they say, oh, by the way, everything's going to garbage, blah, blah, blah. They want to fearmonger. When World War III kicks off, where there's more stuff going on, they want you to be scared. Something I heard is I've told people before, like I've gotten a lot more, because of how I think the war stuff is popping off. I've got a lot more into firearms. And there's a guy who, if you get into guns, you kind of end up finding this guy. His name's John something, Warrior Poet Society. I forgot, John Goodman or Loveman or something like that. Anyway, he had this, I was watching a video a long time ago from him, and he just made this comment where he's like, don't be afraid to go to concerts because you not doing stuff is letting terrorism win. And I was like, that's actually really interesting. He was like, you being afraid to go out and live your life is letting terrorism win. And I was like, that's fucking actually prophetic when you think about it, right? Like, for example, a lot of people were afraid of COVID and didn't go out. And okay, like, sure, could you get sick and die? Yeah, maybe. But when you're letting fear win, what does that say about every other aspect of your life? What does that say about how you live your life? Because the other thing is, why do we do all this, right? So by the way, why do we do astrology? Why do we try to better ourselves? Any of that stuff. You've got one life. If you're lucky, maybe, I can't even say if you're lucky. You will probably at some point sit back and look, damn, maybe I shouldn't have been scared to do that thing. Maybe I should have taken more risks. Maybe I should have done that thing. And if you let fear be the driver of your life, it's you're denying the magic that is you. And it's not like you're denying the magic that's you. That's really sad. You're better. It's like, well, you're going to die. So you can waste this life and then be sad when you die. And then I don't know what happens after that. Or you could say, you know what? I have my one life. I'm not going to live with regrets and fears. So the South Node enters Virgo. The idea of things have to be tangible and they have to make sense. They don't have to. That's just going to be exhausting. The North Node going into Pisces and conjoining Neptune is very spiritual. The other part of it, though, is there's a lot of mass deception kind of going on. And I know that sounds super woo-woo and very tinfoil hat, but like, hear me out here. There's this direction being pulled towards media, towards deception, towards spirituality, towards confusion. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Like, if you don't think things are going to get more confusing during this time, like, for example, like if you're a real tinfoil hat wearer, you've, you know about Project Bluebeam. If you don't know about Project Bluebeam, it's like, I don't know, something in the 80s, the government is trying to project images onto the sky, right? And so a lot of people are like, hey, if you ever see Christ coming back in the sky, it's Project Bluebeam shit. For a lot of people, it's going to be very overwhelming. But it's kind of like the North Node conjoining Neptune is a lot of people are going to be kind of sucked into stuff. And so you've kind of have to listen to yourself. You've got to do that little test yourself of, hey, like, what's the right thing for you to do? What's the wrong thing for you to do? Do you want, and we've learned with COVID, you can't just trust what everyone's opinions are. I have a lot of clients that are jab injured and they didn't want to get it, but they fell under that influence. And we just can't listen to everybody anymore. You have to be assertive in your own individual beliefs. So let's come back to this, right? This happens. This is really, in my opinion, where the kick start, like when shit starts moving. I think on the 11th, you're going to go, something in the air is different. I forgot where I talked. Oh, on my memberships, over on my website, if you become a member, I do something called the game plan, which is like my extra cool take on what a monthly horoscope is. So rather than being like, here's a monthly horoscope, I set up the astrology for you to be like, hey, here's how to actually use the month ahead. And this is like, for example, when a storm is coming in, when I lived in Denver, when a storm was coming in from the east, you would start to smell all of this manure from the farms east, and you would feel the temperature difference. You would feel the pressure difference in the air. You would feel more humidity in the air. That's what this feels like. It's like on the 11th, the air is going to feel different. You're going to be like, ooh, okay, the storm is coming. The storm's coming. We're feeling that. Sammy Sizzle checking in from the gym. I got to get my gym membership. I haven't gotten that since I've been here. I've been so busy. Too busy drinking cherry Coke Zero. So we get to the 18th. Venus. By the way, I get little notifications when someone likes it. Who thumbs down me for drinking Coke Zero? Fuck you. Anyway, so Venus conjoins Saturn on the 18th as well. Now, why is this important? You know, I was hoping it'd be colder. I don't like the shirt I'm wearing. Is it too late to become a member? No, you can. Let's do this. Anyway. Venus conjoins Saturn on the 18th. Now, why is this important? Now, Venus conjoining Saturn is a little melancholy, but what I like about this is Venus is exalted in Pisces, and she's going to be there for quite some time, right? Venus is going to be in Pisces all through January. She will be a little bit into it in February, but she'll go into Aries, station retrograde, come back. And in March, or actually I think it's April, Venus is back in Pisces for a while. April and May. So we get like between January and May, Venus is in Pisces like, what, 2/3 of the time, maybe a half of that time. And Venus is exalted in Pisces, right? Venus is about pleasure and fun, connection, relationships. She's exalted. She's doing so well. Venus in Pisces is very like, again, have you ever... okay, guys in the chat will know exactly what I'm talking about, and some girls will know what I'm talking about. Okay, guys, if you ever went and party with like a group of girls, there's like, have you ever been like party with a group with like a girl who was like, all she knew was fun, and you would like try to be like, even just slightly like, just kind of manic pixie dream girls, very Venus and Pisces, just like there's no reality there. And I don't even say that in like a derogatory way. That's just like the life some women can live because they're like pretty and can just do whatever they want. That's like Venus and Pisces. Venus conjoining Saturn is like boundaries though. Like for example, like if maybe you have like a kid and the kid wants to go and play, but they need like a little, like you can't let your kid play in the forest, right? Like the playground. It's like this, there's a barrier here where they can do all that stuff. Like Venus and Pisces conjoining Saturn is like being able to have fun within a boundary, being able to have fun within a certain framework. Also, Venus conjoining Saturn, though, is like Saturn concretizes, Saturn restricts things, and Venus is about fun, right? So there is this restriction to the fun, but it's Saturn and Pisces where it's very kind of like spiritual. Type B energy. Sadie, what is type B energy? I don't know what that means. Oh, Venus near the crescent moon last night was awesome. I haven't seen it tonight. My hair, you see this fucking curl right here? Do you know how annoying it is? I'm about ready to buzz my hair. Anyway, so Venus conjoins Saturn. There's this kind of melancholic vibe. Now, this is all important. Like I typically wouldn't really talk about Venus conjoining Saturn, but Venus is going to retrograde. Like the highlights of this year are the Venus retrograde, the node shift, Saturn, Neptune, everything in Pisces. So for example, everything in the sky. So actually, let me show you this. Let's do this. Hey. There we go. So let's say here's Aries and here's Pisces in the sky. Everything is going to be right here in the spring. It's going to be Saturn, the sun, Neptune, the moon, the nodes, Venus, Mercury. Everything is right there. And they all do this. It's like they move forward, then they station retrograde, and pretty much there's just a big shuffling of the cards at the last 10 degrees of Pisces and the first 10 degrees of Aries in the spring. And again, the beginning of Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. My students know all about the beginning of the zodiac, and why the beginning of the zodiac is Aries because the stupid zodiac course that I made. I say stupid because it was just a fucking lot. The zodiac is such a fucking mess. Anyway, so Venus conjoins Saturn, and that's going to get us built up for the Venus retrograde. That then brings us to Venus entering shadow on January 27th. So look at this, by the way. Look at this. Okay. So Venus is going to be entering shadow here, which means Venus will come back to this degree in station direct. Venus is going to be conjoining Neptune and the North Node. Okay. Hear me out on this. It's really simple. I want to do very literal reads with you guys today. I'm not trying to like do some crazy astrology where Venus is in the blah, blah, blah. Like just let's just hear me out. Venus is about fun, right? Pleasure, connection, relationships. Pretty simple. What does Neptune rule? Fantasy, illusion, deception, media, spirits, alcohol. It's very elusive. It's very confusing. And the North Node rules turning up, is pretty much about turning up the volume to like 11. Like, where are we really headed, and how extreme do we get there with, and how extreme do we go with that? So Venus conjoining Neptune and conjoining the North Node is really is pretty extreme in my opinion. It's not subtle. Now, can that be bad? Yeah. Can it be good? Yeah. It really depends. And the way I look at this is there's a lot of like clownery. This whole, I've seen this. I saw someone was like, Cameron, what about all of the planets aligning? They're not aligning. They just look like they're in a straight line, but they're not aligning whatsoever. It's so like, it's one of those things where I'm like, do astronomers even know astronomy at a certain point? If all the planets aligned, including Earth, you wouldn't see any of them. In fact, or you would either they would be behind the sun or they would be all at midnight. That would be one way to look at it. So Venus conjoins Neptune and conjoins the North Node. On a personal level, what you need to be doing right now, what you really need to be doing right now in your life, depending on what houses Venus rules in your chart, is what is fun for you. What do you enjoy? What does pleasure look like? And I want you to really lean into it as authentically as possible, like childlike, if that makes sense. So, because as Venus goes into shadow, we're going to come back to this by April. There we go. Now we get to February. February, not a lot, in my opinion. Venus will conjoin the North Node and Neptune. February 1st is delusional land. I almost want to, like, for example, I want someone to, like, purposely be on drugs and alcohol and, like, confess their love for someone just to, like, be chaotic. This is very, like... This is really chaotic, in my opinion. This is really like turning up the dial on the pleasure thing. Like, you can only go so far until you die, realistically. Can you make sure? Oh, the webinar. Yes. If you want to join the webinar, the link to it is in the description below. Sign up for the webinar. We're going over how to unlock your goals with the planets. It's one of those things where I had a comment. Someone's like, can you explain more of that? It's like, if I explain more, I'd fucking just get into the webinar. But long story short, 2025 is the year of change. Whether you like it or not, and if you want to make changes that you want to, but let's say you don't know how, or you suck at it, or you just haven't experienced a history of not being able to, this is supposed to be laid out to where not only do you have a framework for it, it's a universal truth. Not like, here, think of it this way. It's literally like the fucking astrology is a guide. It's literally, the stars have always been used as a guide to get us through Earth when it was just about navigating the seas, navigating the Earth, or navigating your life. And that's exactly what they do time and time again. And I'm trying to show you how exactly they can help you navigate your life, this time with unlocking your goals, because we think our goals are really hard, but they're actually super fucking easy if you just know the steps you have to take to hit them. And that's what the planets show. That's what that's all this webinar is about, is really like, hey, it's actually super fucking simple. And if you want to take your goals seriously this year and make it really, really easy rather than super hard, that's what the webinar's for. It's this Sunday. Click the link. Anyway, it's in the description. So this is happening February 1st. Fun. I want you guys to have a lot of fun on February 1st, but not too much fun, because this is like overdose on fentanyl fun. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. Now, Neptune, though, conjoins the North Node for a week. That's something I want to... Can I zoom in? No, I can't zoom in. Okay, so zoom in on this. Oh, wait, I can. Duh, I have the technology. Okay, no, maybe I can't zoom in. All right. The North Node conjoins Neptune for a week. This week is like this whole, the drones are over New Jersey. There is so, like, this is a week where I would want you to stand back and just watch the news. Not with a opinion, not with a reaction, but just, and my thumb on the pulse is, or my finger on the pulse is, shit's going down this week. Shit's going down this week. And not even going down, but just like for example, in 2019, it was Christmas 2019 when we had the eclipse on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. OG astrology people know what I'm talking about. I don't got the time to explain that one. But it was on the Christmas eclipse on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of 2019. And we saw an article that was like, weird new virus coming out of Wuhan. And all the astrologers were like, that's interesting. This is kind of the same thing where it's like, I would really kind of pay attention to the news, but typically it's the stuff that they want you to distract. That, like, for example, everyone was talking about, the kid shooting, the healthcare CEO, which, oh my God, I lean so conservative nowadays, but watching fucking conservative people like, oh, this is a life that we're talking about. You guys are really parroting death. I'm like, you guys are literally jerking off to giving Israel money to blow up children's heads in Gaza. Like, stop with the fucking morality contest here. Like, enough. Like, the children in Gaza did not kill anybody, but the healthcare CEO of United Healthcare, not surprising, to be honest with you. I can't believe that's a surprising thing that happened. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. Will you change this year, Cam, or just us? Oh, you have no idea what I've got coming up here. You have no idea. You guys have no idea how hard it is to do this job, because I don't get, like, I can't live with myself just be like, you guys need to change, and not make those changes myself. And so I can't, like, fucking just, like, not do shit. I wish I could just be like, I don't wish that. But anyway. So North Node conjoins the Neptune. There's a lot of feeling of deception. There's a lot of feeling of too good to be true, rose-colored glasses, idealization. Uh-oh, my screen is turning yellow. Let's turn that off. So I want you to chill. I want you to, like, chill. Yeah, and calling Luigi a terrorist. Yeah, it blows my mind that they're going to try to get the death sentence on him. But, another 20 trillion to Israel. Woo! They're occupying 3 nations. That's totally not cool. Anyway. So, there is a really high level of, again, like, deception and illusion in a good way and in a bad way. You just have to have your finger on the pulse. Like, hey, am I, like, for example, when you see a magician, I saw an Instagram reel of this magician, like, pulled 2 birds out of one, and it was mind blowing. It's like, okay, he's not Magic Man, he's not Satan, but he's still definitely doing something crazy. Like, you have to have that level of, like, understanding, if that makes sense. So let's go back to this. When will the horoscope? Here's where I'm at. I was trying to record those before I left, and I couldn't. So that's why I'm doing this live. I'm going to try to get through them next week. I'm booked out with clients next week. And then the 3rd week of January, I've got to dedicate some work to shit I need to do. But anyway, for this person who said, what date is showing in the top right corner, look at the top right corner. So right here, this is what I'm talking about right here. Anyway, so Venus goes into Aries. I love Venus and Aries. Venus and Aries is such a bad girl. Like, I like bad girl energy. It's fun, right? I mean, I like all, I guess, girl energy, but like, Venus and Aries is very, like, it reminds me of, do you remember the chokehold Megan Fox had over society in, like, 2008? Like, besides Transformers, what was that stupid movie that she did where she was like a vampire and she's like, I eat boys, and every guy, like, I was in, like, middle school at the time. At that same time, I remember this specifically because of my friend group, but that same time Megan Fox was like a vampire that ate boys was the same time Tila Tequila's phone number dropped, and everyone was texting Tila Tequila. That's how old I am. Some of you are too young to even know who Tila Tequila was. But that's Megan Fox being a vampire and like, I eat boys, or whatever the fuck that was. That's like the Venus and Aries energy. Like, I'm this woman, but I'm doing something martial. I'm doing something bad and kind of scary, and be scared of me. Like, that's kind of the vibe. I have a couple predictions about people with Venus and Aries. So, mind you, we're getting in prediction mode. Are you guys ready? Jennifer's body, thank you. And if we don't book before the end of January, closing books. I'm closing my books to the public. They'll be available for my past clients and for my members. I'm sorry to think about that. I still got to set that up. This would be the time to do it, to get locked in. But a few predictions I have is, number one, Mr. Beast. I want to double check his chart. There's a few people. My website's Cam White Astro. Mr. Beast birth chart. There's a few people I was looking at. By the way, did you guys like my prediction? How I got that right? I said back in September, I made a Mars retrograde prediction video. And I was like, Ashton Kutcher's going to come up in the news. And it's not even a fucking week later, Ashton Kutcher broke in the news. I was like, that was so quick. I was thinking a little later. I want to look at Mr. Beast because if I'm not mistaken, he's got, yeah. So look at this, Mr. Beast. There we go. So Mr. Beast is who I want you guys to pay attention to during the Venus retrograde. He has number one, Saturn's going to conjoin his Jupiter. He's like super duper wealthy, so I kind of feel like that's ironically important. Where the fuck is it? There we go. But he has Venus at 4 Aries. Venus is stationing retrograde on his Venus. He's got Mr. Beast is coming up in the news, and he's starting his Saturn return, and Neptune's going toward it. Mr. Beast is coming up really big in the news. Same thing with Tim Pool. Tim Pool is going to be brought up in the news really, really big around this time. I only know that because I was like looking up his chart one day, and he has Mercury conjoining Venus at 0 Aries. So big news is happening with Tim Pool too. So pay attention to him. Maybe he takes off his beanie and we're all like, I don't know, he just reveals what's going on up there. That'd be pretty nuts. I wonder if he takes off his beanie because Aries rules the head and the face, and like I don't know, uncovering it. Anyway, so we get Venus and Aries. Let's go to this. By the way, can I just say thank you guys for being here? I got like 500 of you. It's Friday night. We're going over the astrology. This is so much fun. Jupiter stations direct. If there was a non-exciting, like I don't want to say non-exciting as if it's bad, but just kind of like a literally who gives a shit transit for Jupiter, it's this one. Oh my God, my hair. Sorry, I'm a fucking Leo. I can't not do this, and I look ridiculous. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. Maybe not. Jupiter stationing direct. Jupiter's been retrograde. Jupiter retrogrades are only really typically good for people who have Jupiter retrograde in their birth chart. Maybe not, but Jupiter's in detriment too right now. Jupiter stationing direct is, hey, if Jupiter's about abundance and faith and hope, when it's moving direct, it's like introducing all that to your life. As it goes retrograde, it kind of goes away. So Jupiter stationing direct is, I think we're going to be more on the up and up around this time. Like, hey, we're now moving back into the forward direction. At least this is the first domino. Jupiter will station direct, then Mars will station direct, and then once Venus stations direct, then we kind of have all of the planets really moving forward at that point, and I think things will be a lot better then. But that happens. I fucking love Coke Zero. God damn it! I got to get off the Coke Zeros too. I'm gonna get off of these soon. They're too addicting. Oh, whoops. So let's actually fast forward this. So we have Venus in Aries. This is the 11th. Oh, the 4th is when Jupiter stations direct. So we're looking up right here. Derp. There we go. All right. Mercury goes into Pisces on February 14th. By the way, these transits that I'm writing down are not all of the transits. There are so many transits. I only got so much time. We're almost an hour into this and I'm on February. Like, we got a lot to go over here. So Mercury goes into Pisces February 14th. I like that it's on Valentine's Day because there's a level of like admitting a crush and just kind of like botching it. Mercury in Pisces is not good at its job. Mercury's about delivering a message. Mercury's about communicating a message. Mercury's about going back and forth, and it's in detriment in Pisces. It's like slurring your words. Have you ever like went to go say a joke? Like maybe you've been nervous around this new group of people and you go to say a joke to like break the ice and something loud happens or they all get distracted or someone's louder than you. They don't hear you. Like that's kind of Mercury in Pisces. That's kind of the vibe. Why that's important is I want you to start paying attention to everything that's in Pisces right now. So Mercury's in Pisces. If you're not familiar with what this is the descendant. So you know what? Why don't we do this? Oh, and we get a lot of fortune there. Let's move that. Okay, so look at how many things are in Pisces. Mercury's in Pisces. Saturn's in Pisces. The North Node's in Pisces. Neptune's in Pisces. we have a lot of things over in the sign of Pisces. Now, what is Pisces about? It's really about the ending. Like Pisces reminds me of the end all be all, like for example, like that weird purgatory state where you're dead, and you're about to meet God and you go through all that stuff, because Aries is about the birth. Aries is about the beginning and the start. Pisces is about endings. And we just have so much here. And Pisces is very confusing, right? Like, the other thing with Pisces is Sagittarius is also ruled by Jupiter, right? But Sagittarius is like idealistic, masculine, yang energy. Like, this is what I'm going to go for. This is what I believe. This is what I'm excited about. Like, be optimistic. And Pisces is much more internal. Like, you can create that within yourself. It's the yin version of spirituality. It's the receptive, the feminine part of spiritual, about hope and belief and faith. Like, for example, it's easy to be like, I believe in God and do things in the name of God. But then it's harder though when you actually have to go within, right? Like, imagine being in prison. Like, I think about what people who choose this path when they go to prison and they get into like a spiritual form. Like, that's very Pisces to me. It's very Piscean. Like, going within, going through those journeys, being able to resolve past conflicts, that type of shit. That's what Pisces is really about. And we have Mercury there now. We have Saturn there. We have the North Node there. We have Neptune there. We're the easiest way to put that is there's a lot of cards in the Pisces area of life. There's a lot of focus over there. So it's not like everything's in Aries. We're all about action and energy. It's like everything's in Pisces where we're kind of like working through some shit. And it's kind of weird. So Mercury going to Pisces is our minds are a little bit more focused in on that. We're a little bit more locked in. We're a little bit more mentally focused on that stuff. But the thing with Mercury and Pisces is that it's hard to articulate it with words all of the time. It's hard to make sense of all of it all the time. And then we get to the 24th, Mars stations direct. Mars is in Cancer. It's not feeling good. And Mars stations direct, where this is just plopping on the couch. Not even on the couch. It's just like plopping out of the water. Mars being retrograde in Cancer this whole time is like, look at all the water stuff we've got going on. There's a lot of emotional deep work that we're doing. There's a lot of emotional turmoil. And a lot of the Mars in Cancer stuff is like, what's crazy is in my client work, it always comes back to, like, for example, people have these things that they want to do, but things hold them back in their life, right? And the thing that holds them back is this belief that they have. Like, let's say their belief is, whatever. They have a belief that like they're dumb or something. And it always stems from childhood. It always ends up stemming from childhood. And that's just how it goes. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe I would argue 70% of the shit stems from childhood. Mars retrograding in Cancer is kind of like, there's times where you can kind of go like, oh, that started from childhood. Why do I do that anymore? And then there's other times where you realize something started from childhood and you get really upset. You get like really mad. Like, why didn't my fucking dad love me enough? Why did my mom abandon me? Why did my mom not give me like shit like that? You know what I mean? Like there's times where you can get really worked up about it and like really emotional. And like, you have to understand how powerful emotions are. Like, I think it's really funny when people are like, oh, don't be emotional about stuff. It's like, no, you're an emotional creature. You don't need to be taking action off every emotion, but you need to recognize every emotion because they're very powerful and they're operating in ways that you don't even see. That's the fucking point of them. So Mars stationing direct, I think, is this kind of like, you ever see like an intervention where it almost reminds me of like a fish. Have you ever went fishing and you get a fish out and it's like flapping all over the place? It's resisting that at some point it just kind of like, I don't know, dies. It just stops flapping around. It just accepts it's dead. That's kind of like Mars stationing direct. It's like, okay, I can't fight this anymore. I can't resist the emotion. I can't resist the work. And like, it's really funny to me. If you want to go through this next 2 months without doing any deep work, you totally could. I just find it like a waste of time. Like, you can't look at me with a straight face and act like you don't have something that you've got that you maybe want to work on or that you want in your life, that you don't have some sort of like layers of calcified versions of you that are getting in the way. Like, I had a client the other day. He was totally kick ass and he was very like, yeah, I just, I live my life, blah, blah, blah. Everything is fine. And I was kind of like, well, then what are we doing here? Like, you're not into astrology. Like, by the way, my last weekly horoscope, I had so many people get really mad at me. And it was really interesting. A lot of people were like, Cameron, just shut up and talk about the astrology. You're too annoying with this. Like, I don't want to hear you preach. I want to hear you talk about the astrology. And I'm like, why are you here? If you just want to know the energy of the day, go outside. You're here for an actual reason. You're not here because, and also too, when people are like, I just want to know the energy of the day, that's your excuse of, oh no, you want the excuse of the day. Like this idea that like like I think people have been so normalized by astrology, like, oh, the moon's in Scorpio, you're just going to lash out and you're going to be a little baby because you're taking control of it. It's like, no, like that's what is susceptible today. And here's how to work with it. And people get really butthurt when they have to take some sort of accountability. Anyway, Mars stationing direct, I just feel as if is this kind of like this surrendering to the work that has to be done. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be wrong. What do you classify as deep work? It's actually a really good question. So I've talked to a lot of people about the personal development stuff that I've done before. And, it is like, the personal development stuff I did was like with these seminars, and there's a lot I got out of them. I don't really like how I did them. If for those who care, I did like psi seminars. Maybe you've had a friend talk to you about it, and it was really awesome for me. There's a lot of stuff as I look back, I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. But anyway, I say that because I had some genuinely really profound experiences. And it was like, for example, I did one of the first ones I did. Long story short, we did like this deep meditation. It was something called like junkyard. You go into your brain and you go to your junkyard, and what's in the junkyard, and you look, and like for me, it was this one time what was in my junkyard was before my grandpa died, I had promised him to see him one more time. And at the time, my mom didn't allow me to see my grandpa because after my grandma died, my grandpa got really weird. He was kind of crazy Vietnam vet dude, kind of violent. He would never hurt me though. And long story short, we used to go to the swap meet together. We'd have breakfast together all the time. And my mom didn't let me see him, and I hated it. I resented my mom a long time for that. And he called me crying, and this is a fucking Vietnam vet. He stabbed people. In fact, I have his bayonet from Vietnam. He called me crying, being like, I miss and love you guys so much. And I was just like, I'm gonna go see you, Grandpa. We're gonna go have breakfast. We're gonna swap meet. And I think it was like 2 weeks later, he was crossing the freeway in his car, like to get to a parking lot, and he got in an accident and died. And at that time, it really messed me up. But like, I moved on. But in that junkyard exercise, it was this shit I was holding on to, and it was like I had this I never forgave myself for that. And that's a version of deep work. Another version of deep work for example, for me is like, I quit smoking cigarettes. You want to know why? Like, number one, this is going to sound really rude. And I'm okay with that sounding rude because maybe it is. When I was living in Denver, I was living downtown. I had a really nice house, and I was smoking cigarettes outside. And every fucking time I smoked, I would have 2 homeless people ask me for a cigarette. And I'm not talking about like your local bum that's a little smelly and gross and they're asking for, I'm talking about people tweaked out on fentanyl that I couldn't tell if they were going to attack me or not, come up to me and they would bug me, and they would just, and again, I'm from like dude, I've got tweakers in my family. Like, I fucking hung out at the fucking trailer park growing up. I hung out at I know tweakers. I know that shit. I know it better than a lot of you guys. I don't like that shit. And a big motivating reason I quit smoking cigarettes because I didn't want to be around that anymore. And the deeper reason behind that is I'm worth more than that. I don't need to subjugate myself to being around that stuff. And a lot of people I mean, the way I talk about it is very like, I don't want to be around fucking homeless people and tweakers anymore. I fucking hate that shit. And people are like, oh, Cameron, have sympathy. It's like, I do have sympathy. But the other thing is like, I don't deserve to live a life where I have to be around that. It's no. And I could sit here and and my question for you guys is, why do you guys allow it? Like, I'm at the point in my life right now, I don't ever want to step foot in a gas station again. I don't like the energy there anymore. I deserve so much more. And it's one of those things, if I go, why do I feel like I deserve to be around this? And then also too, when you talk about deep work, like I'm working a lot on my anger, working a lot on that. And I've been very angry. Been very angry lately. Mars is on my sun tomorrow. Mars is retrograding over my sun. And a lot of things are not, I don't want to say like not working out. It's just I've had a lot of anger and a lot of stress going on, and it's Mikhail, I've gotten your emails. It's on my laptop. I'm getting it sent to you. It's on my laptop. I'm sorry. I'm getting it to you. I promise. But it's just like I've just been really angry, and for example, like I stopped smoking weed. I kind of got high like last month, but the reason is like Tim Dillon made a really good point. Tim Dillon's like my favorite comedian, and he was talking about how he got sober, and he's like try to find the thing that gets you high in life, and for him that's comedy. Like for me, why would I smoke weed? Like my goal is to be an artist, to be a singer. I want to be on stage. I want to perform in front of 10,000 people. I want millions of streams. Why that gets me, like I used to race motocross, dude. I used to like jump in the air, and that shit's terrifying, and it's an adrenaline rush, and part of me wants to go back to it, but I'm like, why not try to find that adrenaline rush in doing scary things like performing on stage? Do you guys get on live and confess about what's going on with your life in front of 500 people? It's scary sometimes. And so that's the deep work I've been doing, is really being like, wow, if I'm going to take my goals seriously, like this is what it looks like. It's not like everything in my life needs to be actually that, because everything else is an excuse. Everything else is an excuse. Like I've had the same dreams since I was a kid. Why am I not doing it? Why am I not doing it? What else am I doing that's not that? And so the deep work is calling yourself out on it. That's really it. And that's why you got me. That's why you guys tune into me, because I'm not here to pussy around with that shit. And so many astrologers are. Your vibe is very high. I actually get really upset about the comments that people are like, Cameron, you're high as fuck. It's like, you guys don't fucking know me. Straight up. Like, I'm very authentic and real on here as much as I can be, but I can't say everything. Like, there's just a certain level of like, it just doesn't make sense to say that. And it gets frustrating. And again, I don't like getting frustrated at the comments, but anyway, so I've noticed that this is manic right now. It's been pretty bad. So, let's go. Anyway, if you want more of that kind of shit, like that's what the webinar is about. Cause I joined the webinar. It's going to be amazing. So we get to Mars stationing direct. And my question for you guys is, as Mars stations direct in Cancer, and it's about like, how are we feeling? There's kind of, again, the analogy I was thinking about was like intervention, and how, in an intervention, you might resist, and there's a point where you just kind of like surrender and you just move forward anyway. That's what this feels like. It's like, hey, this is what it is. You have to do this. And that's okay. I think this is such a weird time. Like February is very weird. I would argue March, April, May is like all this crazy other shit. But February is weird. Then we have Mercury conjoining Saturn on the 25th. The only reason I highlight this is so Mercury is going to retrograde. Whoops, I'm already past that. 25th. There we go. Mercury is going to conjoin Saturn. And the only reason I bring this up is Mercury is going to retrograde. By the way, Venus is motionless at this point. Venus is not moving a muscle. She will retrograde at 10 degrees. This is on February 25th. But Mercury is going to go into Aries, station retrograde, and come back and station direct on Saturn. So Mercury station hitting Saturn is important. But Mercury's still not in shadow yet. Mercury conjoining Saturn is like putting up a microphone to authority, putting up a microphone to like the rules, if that makes sense. It's really about like an authority making an announcement, hearing something. What if we avoid the Mars retrograde? There's no avoiding. So Mercury hitting Saturn. I would pay attention to this because this will come back up again when Mercury does station direct. A lot of this though is like if Mercury's in Pisces. Have you ever heard a kid say a word that they didn't really know what it meant, but it was a bad word? Like a kid said fuck, but they don't understand what they said. That's a very Mercury and Pisces conjoining Saturn. Pisces very like, don't say that. No, we can't say that. No. Like there's an innocence to it, but there is a kind of a little slap on the wrist. Is what Mercury conjoining Saturn reminds me of. Is a certain thought, a certain way of communicating. You're not really aware of what you're saying. You're not really aware of what you're thinking, but you get that soft little boundary that's like, hey, no. Anyway. We get to the new moon in Pisces. This is an eclipse. This is pretty much, this is when it's like, okay, are we ready? Are we going to dive into the ocean? Are we diving into the pool? Did you guys ever go to like a water park as a kid? This is like you're jumping into the pool. We're getting into the water park because from here on out is the crazy part of the year. We're not even at the crazy part of the year. And someone said, Cameron's going too slow. Okay, I know. I'll speed it up here. You guys got me yapping. What do you want me to do? It's me by myself. I'm talking to a camera. I'm supposed to yap. It's hard. My kids say seize the power of production. Okay, Mercury enters shadow. Pay attention to that. Also on the same day, on that new moon. But let's talk about March. So Mercury conjoins the North Node, but Venus is stationing retrograde on the 1st. So this is very like loud noises, being incredibly wrong and incredibly loud at the same time. For people like me, that's going to be pretty crazy, but I know for a lot of you are really incredibly loud and wrong all the time. So it'll just be a normal day for you guys. But Venus stations retrograde also on this day. So let's go over it. Venus retrograde. Venus retrogrades in the same exact zodiac sign every 8 years, -2 degrees. So what was going on for you in spring of 2017? That was the last time Venus stationed retrograde in Aries. Now, if you're a little bit older, Venus, what was going on for you in spring of 2009? That was the time before that when Venus stationed retrograde in Aries. If you're super old, I'm just kidding, you're not that old, but Venus retrograding in 2001 in Aries. Spring of 2001, spring of 2009, and spring of 2017. What were going on those years? You want to know what houses in your chart Venus rules over and what house Aries rules over in your chart, because that's going to give you a way better idea of what was going on. What's actually really funny is, for me, the last time Venus retrograded in Aries in my 5th house of music, I had applied. I entered a DJ competition because I used to make dubstep music. Should I drop my SoundCloud link? I want to drop my SoundCloud link. Everyone will, the 5 people will listen to it. I want you guys to listen to my new music. But I used to produce some dubstep. It sucked, but I wanted to be a dubstep DJ at that time, and I applied for this competition, and it just fucking I got some decks. I did all of this shit, and I did not win. My mix sounded terrible. I still listen to it every now and then because it is pretty good. But this kind of theme is going to come back up again. Now, what is a Venus retrograde? Venus retrograde is about reevaluations, right? This is something that we're going to go over in the next course. So if you're one of the members that's on the live stream right now, my next course is on the planets. Because if you're not familiar, I just got done doing a course about the zodiac. So if you want to know about pretty much everything about the zodiac, I have a course on it. Literally everything that it would take you pretty much a long fucking time to learn. I gave it to you in a really easy course. The next course is about planets, and I'm going to be talking about the difference between Eastern and Western planets. So if a planet is occidental and oriental, there we go. It's like, what's always the Eastern word? That creates a difference in that planet's what would you call that? Expression. So for example, Venus being oriental, or Venus being occidental, which is in the West, is very feminine. Venus is evening star. Venus is about pleasure and fun, right? And evening star Venus is about receiving things. And the reason being is let me show you this. So imagine okay, here. Wait, I got a cap. I got 2 caps. So evening star Venus. So let's say here's Earth. How can I do this? I got to make sure it's correct for you guys. So if you're looking at it'd be right here. Yeah. So if you're looking at the south, Venus being an evening star, she's going to start going this way, and then by May she'll pop out over here as morning star. And what that is Venus going in between. So let's say your Earth, here's the sun. Venus is now doing this and is going to come through here and then come up on the other side. That's a Venus retrograde, right? This is Venus receiving, and she's going to come through here. And then morning star Venus is very masculine. It's very pursuant of something. And so what I like to talk about with Venus being evening star is you are receiving something and you probably don't like it. You probably don't for example, there's something called I'm a big Seinfeld fan. But there's a big, they're called the Seinfeld curse, where Michael Richards, Jason Alexander, and Julia DeFroy, they couldn't find any other work after that. And it's you're receiving something you don't want. And then Venus retrogrades, there's this reevaluation, there's this changing what it is, what you want, or what you look like, or how you go about things. And as Venus stations direct, and she's morning star, which is super, super masculine, there's this pursuing of something new. That's what Venus retrogrades represent. Now, that's the symbolism of a Venus retrograde. Venus retrogrades also too, just like any other planet, is just a symbolizing of a change. So for example, maybe Venus, I saw someone was like, my fucking boyfriend died, my grandma died, all these people died. I'm super sorry to hear that. But maybe Venus rules your 8th house, or that was in your 8th house. So it was much more symbolic of death, right? And there was maybe some reevaluation of your relationships because, hey, they were dead now. Sorry, I can't not be funny about that. That's the idea. And Venus stations retrograde. And what's so funny to me is this isn't like, oh, Venus is stationing retrograde. This is Venus stationing retrograde in like Delulu land. And in between, right before we get eclipse season. So we're in Delulu eclipse season and Venus retrogrades. This is like, let's say, imagine you're in Bali, you're drunk and coked out, and you decide it's time for that random girl you met on the spiritual retreat to give you bangs. That is essentially the energy of this. And you have no idea if this girl can cut your hair. You have no idea if any of that's gonna happen. But that's the idea of this, is like there's a kind of a big reevaluation that we're doing in the middle of a time where making big reevaluation changes may or may not be good. For a lot of people, this might be the snap that is needed for you. And for others, it may not be. Now, I want to talk about this being the beginning. So this is the personal development stuff, right? We're going to come back to that. We're going to talk about war because it's been too long since we've talked about war. I don't think, so here's my actual prediction. And I'm going to say this repeatedly. I think the US is going to either formally attack another country or actually be attacked in a very big way July 4th weekend of 2026. And for the feds watching me, because I already know the fucking feds are watching me, I'm not saying I'm doing that. It's the Mars-Uranus conjunction. And so I don't think we're really seeing it in our faces until then. Okay, it's really 2026. But here is like, for example, before Putin invaded Ukraine in like December of 2021, it was like, oh, fucking Putin's putting this big army on the border of Ukraine. And everyone's like, he's not going to invade. That's not going to happen. My two bets here are, I think you're really going to see a game change with Russia and NATO and with North Korea. A lot of people keep talking about, oh man, I'm really afraid of China-Taiwan. I don't think China-Taiwan happens until the earliest 2027. I'm looking at, though, I think North Korea and South Korea are going to be the first ones. The armistice that ended the Korean War was on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Libra. I think the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is a logical conclusion, like that would kick it off again. Now, that Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries technically doesn't happen until 2026. But I wonder how much of this is like, for example, I don't know if you guys are paying attention to the news, but like North Korea blew up its roads to the DMZ zone that goes into South Korea. That's kind of like, if you know anything about like war or history, you kind of go, that's an interesting sign. That's an interesting sign. That's not like, it's not the worst thing ever. It's not the craziest thing, but that is very random to do if you aren't expecting a full-scale invasion. It's really interesting. So, I wonder, after the Venus retrograde, when Venus stations direct, we kind of see, because again, Venus, the other thing is Venus does symbolize war in a lot of ancient cultures and in a lot of ancient astrology, which is really funny. But when Venus left shadow, so we had a Venus retrograde in Capricorn in 2021 into 2022. And it was the day Venus left shadow was the day Putin invaded Ukraine. And so I wouldn't be surprised if after this Venus retrograde, we do see war. By the way, I've got like 10 people that know this for a fact. I think Chris in the chat knows what I'm talking about. On my Patreon, when I was on Patreon, I keep having people sign up for Patreon. My Patreon's not real anymore. Don't go there. But I said in 2023, when Venus leaves shadow, I was like, a war could kick off. And that was literally right after Venus left shadow was when October 7th happened. Venus leaving shadow is a symbol for war all the time. Like, and it's just literally like, It's not even like it means this. I think a lot of it's just because like people they want to extract resources or power from places, and it's just mostly like a gimme thing. Like the last human sacrifice ritual conducted in America was by the Pawnee Indian tribe, and it was called the Morning Star Ritual, and it was pretty much, it's really brutal. Don't look it up if you're kind of skirmish, but it's because it's pretty brutal. But it's pretty much, it was like, hey, when Venus becomes Morning Star, we do this really fucked up thing, and we sacrifice another human. So that happens here. We get the Venus retrograde. Now, I would ask you, what in your life with Venus retrograding in Aries? Venus is in Aries, she's in detriment. It's like, maybe you don't want to be seen as this anymore. You don't want to be seen as bad girl, or what was the trend? Mafia wife summer, mafia wife fall, or something like that. And you want soft girl summer, whatever the fucking trend is at this point. You don't want to be brat girl summer anymore. You want to be who's the fake blonde girl? Sabrina Carpenter. There's something so plastic about her. I don't know what, there's something about her that I'm like, this is so, I don't know. I can't do Sabrina Carpenter. I'm not hating on her at all, but there's just some level of like, it's very plastic. Anyway, girls are so obsessed right now with like, they keep calling it the glazed donut look. And I don't understand it. I'm like, you look like plastic, but not in the good way. I don't think there is a good way. But anyway, so Venus stations retrograde, all right? So then Mercury conjoins Neptune. Here's the thing. By the way, this is also when the AI stuff is coming up. Someone was talking about Google AI. Where we're at with AI is there's two things that are going to happen between now of 2025 and 2026, like March of 2025 and March of 2026 is two things are going to happen. AI genuinely takes over, and it's such a shit show that like emergency legislation has to get passed, or our monkey, like for example, like that kid who killed the healthcare CEO guy, that to me is so like, we're just now getting to that. Anyway, at a certain point, our little monkey brains aren't going to be able to handle the AI stuff that's coming out. And for example, if you're not familiar with this, by the way, like, and I've said this, I almost made a video about this. Trump is going to bring war. Is it going to be his fault? We'll see. How much of it is kind of all over the place. But for example, why did they let all of the illegal immigrants in? It's like 15 fucking reasons. But one of them is because they're going to bring in they brought in 20 million illegal immigrants, right? They're going to round them up and deport them. Well, a good chunk of them, probably not all of them. How are we going to do that? They're going to say, hey, get your little digital ID ready. Get your little digital ID so we can guarantee that you're not an illegal immigrant, so we can round you up. And essentially a lot of that was for the normalization of mass surveillance, very similar to Israel. Israel is, again, this is why October 7th is such a fake thing. The idea that the most bordered country, the most extreme borders, the most surveilled country ever in the world just completely missed that coming. They were able, by the way, Israel was able to put bombs in every fucking pager of every Hezbollah member, but wasn't able to see Hamas flying a fucking kite over the wall. What? Are you kidding me? It's so ridiculous. So anyway, I say all that to say, let's say there's some sort of war kicking off. Let's say there's some sort of, hey, what's going on? What I want you to pay attention to is Mercury's conjoining Neptune. Something is, that's, no. Mercury conjoining Neptune, that's a lie. March 2nd, all I know is something, we are being played like a fiddle. There is some sort of lie. There is some sort of deception. Look at it. I mean, like this is right before an eclipse. Or not, I shouldn't say right before an eclipse, but this Mercury-Neptune conjunction is March 2nd is, I don't like that. Mercury's in shadow. It's about to go retrograde and it's conjoining Neptune. No. Something's lie. Something is a lie here. I don't like it at all. Gosh, we're an hour and 20. We're in March. I need to fucking hurry up. Whoever told me to shut up and hurry up was right. Mercury then moves into Aries. Really, I think that's just, again, kind of snapping out of it. Like, have you ever seen Pulp Fiction where the girl gets that adrenaline shot? Yeah. Or like when the Narcan hits? Yeah, I'm finna bridge. You only know if you just heard me say, yeah, I'm finna bridge, and you laughed. Just know we have the same algorithm. If you don't know what that means, I'm not going to explain it to you. But only some people know. And I can't, because I can't. I cannot repeat that, what that's from. But it's very funny. Anyway, Mercury moves into Aries. It's kind of just like waking up, the adrenaline shot. Let's actually move this over here. There we go. Also, someone commented on one of my videos. They're like, Cameron, your background's so boring now. That's why you're so mad. I was like, man, fuck you, dog. Like, this is a nice house too. It's just, I'm sorry I don't have like the nicest house in Denver anymore. But do you guys like this? I know it's boring. I'm working on it. You guys got to give me some minute, all right? But this is where I'm really looking at stuff, is this moment right here. So Mercury, let me do this. Love these pop culture references. I'm so logged in, Mars. I don't know how the hell you say that. Oh, there we go. We get to March 11th. I'm really looking at this day, this Mercury-Venus conjunction, because Mercury is going to station retrograde, and it kind of reminds me of like Venus retrograde. Do you know that meme? I couldn't even try to explain it, so never mind. Yeah. So the digital ID stuff, yes, that's all. Like again, digital ID, all that. Like that's exactly what this is. But again, you're not gonna just be like, they're not gonna be like, here's your digital ID. Do you want it? They're gonna go, oh my god, we don't know who's a terrorist. Quick, download this app that InQtel, which is that funds the CIA, totally developed for you like a long time ago. We just totally happen to have this app ready to go. Download it quick and then scan your face and then post on social media about it. That's exactly what's gonna happen. It's like, for example, like people keep thinking like, oh, like I can't believe there's some astrologers that like don't think war is gonna happen. I'm like, what are you fucking smoking? Like there's the reason a lot of this is coming through, like everything's multi-tiered, everything's multifaceted, right? But Mercury conjoining Venus is very like, Mercury's coming up to Venus being like, what, Venus, why are you retrograde? And then a couple days later, it stations retrograde. It's like, oh, that's why you're retrograde. So it just really doubles down on that. Oh, skirt. Let's do this. Why do they want our faces? They want to track you. Well, it's really because I was actually learning a little bit about the background. Yeah, bodybuilding is getting, I mean, dude, like, I'm not that strong anymore. I haven't hit the gym. I've gained, after quitting smoking cigarettes, I gained a bunch of weight back and I feel disgusting. I look like a fucking fat slob right now. And I'm going back into the gym. Yeah. I had sciatica. I fucked up my back when back in August during the Mars-Jupiter conjunction. But yes, it will be. Why do they want our faces? Because they want to kill you. Because they don't want you to be alive. Like, it's always funny to me when people are like, there's like, I'm not like the Illuminati's not a real thing, but this is what I was trying to say. I was watching this a little short mini documentary series about the ATF, which is the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Administration, and it comes back from Prohibition era. And the Prohibition era, like what this guy was arguing was that this was kind of the first time that the government started actually resenting the people. And the idea was, oh, if you still drink alcohol, you're a bad person. And for example, like people would bootleg alcohol when the government would find it, they'd poison it. And there was like a whole batch of alcohol that the government could have tossed away, but they poisoned it instead. And a bunch of people became blind from it. And there was like this level of like the government like looked down upon the citizens because they were dirty drinkers and they were gross and corrupted because they drank. And it really started from there. And so again, fast forward now, again, like, why do you think people like Nancy Pelosi, who's like the third, fourth, I don't think she's the third most powerful person in the country anymore, but she's up there, is worth $200 million, and your net worth has only decreased if you haven't invested in anything over the past 4 years? Why do you think that? They hate you. They don't want you to exist. They don't vote. They don't give a fuck about their constituency. Why do you think the people in North Carolina still don't fucking have power or food, but another 20 billion to Israel? It's just that's why they want our face. They want our face to control us more so they can herd us like cows. Is pretty much what they want. For their or own more control and power. I know I'm getting too tinfoil hat for some of you, but anyway. So Mercury conjoins Venus. We have the lunar eclipse in Virgo. Here we go. Here's the Lulu land. Look at this eclipse. Look at that. What's really funny to me is this eclipse happens, right? It's going to be exact around 11 p.m., maybe about 12 p.m., about the 14th. 12 p.m.-ish Pacific Standard Time, the Ides of March. And what's funny is this lunar eclipse is in Virgo, right? So it's ruled by Mercury, and literally like the next day, Mercury station's retrograde. So there's an eclipse in a Mercury ruled sign, and the Mercury station's retrograde. Where this eclipse to me is like, what's going on? Here's the other thing too. I'm really interested in. Trump genuinely went pretty nut. He went pretty wild in his first 100 days in office. The last time, I mean, like he was like, there was like a terrorist ban, or not a terrorist ban. Sorry, that's fucked up. A Muslim ban. The phrase Muslim ban is really funny to me. It sounds so fucked up. Like I'm not like a big like PC person, but like there's not like a better way to phrase that. Anyway, his next 100 days in office are going to be just as wild. I would put money on it. Cam, do you need us to tell you're pretty? I'm a Leo sun, Libra moon. Like, the reason I like this job is because I get pretty people telling me I'm hot all the time. perks of the job. Please help. But yeah. Anyway. This is a really funny comment because Parker, my video editor, her dad watches all of my videos, and I take Boomer Dad advice very seriously. Boomer Dad fashion advice, and he said I look like a slob when I wear a white t-shirt. So I don't wear a white t-shirt anymore. Parker's dad said so. I look like a slob. Peyton says, I love that Uranus trine though. Do you, Peyton? Do you? Do you like that? I don't. It just, there's a lot to this eclipse where I'm like, yeah, that one's going to be interesting. So let's go back to this. We're still in March. We get to, and then Mercury station's direct on the 15th on the Ides of March. Let's get to, there's a March continued. This is my first time looking at these slides. I hired someone to do these slides for me. Like I wrote down the transits I want to talk about, but I didn't have the time to create this. So I forgot there's literally a part 2 to March. And it's literally, look at this. Venus retrograde Cazimi, Mercury retrograde Cazimi, Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, Venus retrograde conjoins Neptune. There's the new moon in Aries. There's the Mercury retrograde back into Pisces, Mercury retrograde conjoins Neptune, and then Neptune moves into Aries. That's in 8 days. 8 days. These are banger transit. So it's going to be from March 22nd to March 30th. It is one thing after another. It is one thing after another. It is one thing after another. Hold on. I need like a stimmy break. I got to check my phone. Hold on. I need. So, Venus retrograde Cazimi. Halfway point of the retrograde. Mercury station's retrograde with Venus. Let's look at this. Sorry, I'm trying to read the comments too. Do you know how hard this is to like do all of this at once? I wish I had like a team, like in person. So the sun moves into Aries, which is pretty wild. Sun moves into Aries. Then we have the Venus retrograde Cazimi, the halfway point. That then is followed by the Mercury retrograde Cazimi, and then Venus retrogresses back into Pisces, and then Venus conjoins Neptune, and then there's the new moon in Aries, which is like this day, and then Mercury retrogresses back into Pisces. Now look at this. Look at this. This is my favorite thing of next year. This is my favorite thing. Mercury. This is March 28th. Mercury is at 0 Aries. Neptune's at 29 Pisces. On the 29th, they do this. They both switch. Watch. And go. Oh, not here. So this is the 20th. So look, 2958, 005. They go boop, boop. So they do a little switcheroo here. This to me, I don't know what to think of this. There's a lot of things that happen in astrology that are rare or that are special. This to me is like, That's weird. I've never seen that before. Also specifically at 0 degrees Aries, like the start of the zodiac. That's kind of interesting to me. So like I said, March, it's really the end of March is when everything's crazy. And this is why I've been trying to tell people, like, hey, 2020, like, this is kind of a lot. Coming back to the more personal stuff with it is, why have I been hounding on, like, getting your shit together? Again, there's all this change in the astrology. There's also going to be all this war and crazy shit going on. And the world is going to want you to be afraid. And the world is going to be like, oh my God, these things are happening. Be afraid. And they want to suck your energy away from you. They want to steal your energy, right? Like, right now you are giving me your energy because you're giving me attention, right? But I'm hoping I can give that back to you with something of value that helps you go on your way. There's nothing that helps you go on your way when they're like, look at this, Hawk Tuah girl is a scam. Hawk Tuah is a scam? What? She rug pulled her coin? I'm proud of Hawk Tuah girl. Thank God she rug pulled. Let her make her money. Let her make her money. There was a Hawk Tuah girl. Why is Hawk Tuah girl fucking famous? Who gives a shit? Why is Hawk Tuah even in your lexicon? Why? Why is that even in your why is that even in your reality? You know what's really funny? You know what really inspires me is there's people in this world who think they will never have what they want. And what is their reality? It's never what they want. And there are people in this world who will not settle for anything but the highest of standards and the highest of, and they're disgusted by anything else. And that's their reality. They get exactly what it is they want. They get those high standards. The reason I bring that up is like what your beliefs are your reality. And as we go into this period, as we go into all these things changing, as we go into all this change, the universe wants to take all this energy from you, or reality. They want to say, be scared of this. Oh my God, there's drones over New Jersey. I don't give a fuck what goes on in New Jersey. And again, we're living in this media world where it's just attention. They're taking your attention. Before you know it, you're going to be 20 years later. You're going to be exactly where you are, if not worse. And you're going to go, where did my life go? This is the time. If not now, when? If not now, when? If not now, when? When? 2030? 2034? 2037? 2041? What year is it going to be? What year is it going to be when there is a meaningful difference in your life? And everything changes whether you like it or not. This is why I like New Year's resolutions, because whatever, dude, whatever you fucking need to make some fucking big changes, let it, whatever it is. If it is, hey, you know what? When I paint my nails green, I'm now this person. Whatever. I'm fine with whatever. But I look at this as we're doing astrology for a reason. There's all this change with astrology. Make the changes. Make the changes. They're easier than you think. They're easier than you think. The shit that you want in your life is so much fucking easier than you think. It's not fucking hard. On some real shit right now, guys, on some real shit right now, everything that you guys want in your world, someone genuinely retarded has it. And what I mean by that is, I mean someone with like an Antarctic IQ score has what you want, and it was easy for them. You're better than that. You're better than that. And if that's, and again, this isn't about like, oh, Cameron, you're being mean to people. I'm sorry we're making fun of the hypothetical person in order to inspire you. I'm so sorry we hurt the imaginary person's feelings. But if that is what you get to stand on to say, you know what, Cameron, I'm not going to do the things that I want to do because you're hurting hypothetical people's feelings. Okay, be miserable then. But you know what I fucking hate? I hate, you wouldn't be watching astrology if you didn't give a shit about something. You wouldn't be here about astrology if you didn't have some sort of hope, right? If you weren't curious about, do you know what most people's question is, what's my purpose? Well, stop thinking about it and start doing something that creates a purpose. Why does it got to be thought about all the time? So the reason, and this is why I'm fucking making this, like, I've made this webinar, is just straight up like, it's so fucking easy. It's so easy. And I swear to God, if you go about this year and do the same shit, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. And some of you can live with regrets. Some of you can. I can't. I already live with enough regrets. I can't do, and I'm doing my best to not live with regrets. And if it's one thing, it's what if there is no purpose? Stop, Joshua. You have a fucking purpose. You have something in your heart of hearts that wants to come out into the world. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's just saying fuck you to the guy crossing the street. Even like for me, if you were on my Instagram, I used to get mad at the motorcycle guy across the street. My purpose might have been just to say fuck you to that guy. Maybe I didn't live my purpose because I didn't say that. That's a good one, Christy. Your purpose is to follow your heart. Their purpose is to distract you. That's a good one. So the reason I'm bringing that up right now is this March time is, if you think about it, for example, let's say everyone's had this experience. If you see someone, like, let's say you're out and about at night and you're out drinking, right? And you see a hot person. The second you get in your head about, oh, do I want to talk to them, say that? You lost. You thought about it. You lost. Stop thinking about it. Go for it. That's the point of the Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Like, where's the buttons? Why aren't they working? What is going on? My little buttons aren't working. Okay, so we're just going to do this. Okay. That's the point of this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Is stop trying to make it make sense. Stop trying to plan it out. Stop. Because guess what? Mercury's in detriment right now. You're not going to have a plan anyway. Plan's going to fail. So again, where I want you to be is, let's look at this. Mars is direct. By the way, Mars is also like trining Saturn this whole time, which is really interesting to me. But Mars is direct. It's moving forward. It's about to go into Leo. And this is kind of like all of these scary things that actually really aren't scary. You're just nervous. They're just new, are happening. It's just one of those things where you're probably not going to have me talk a lot like this after 2025. 2026, yeah, because 2026 is pretty hardcore. 2026 is not for pussies. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's some pretty tough stuffs too. April of 26 looks really hard. But like, what is it going to take? And again, for a lot of people, I love when people are like, oh, I don't have a purpose. Oh, I just want to be here. I'm just wasting my breath. Okay, fine. Then that's what you get to leave behind, is nothing. Whether that was, again, inspiring people. Like what if I, again, what if I was one of those people who's like, oh, I don't have a purpose. I'm afraid to be a pussy. And I wasn't in your guys' life. Aren't I so great? I'm just kidding. It's very egotistical of me. I don't necessarily think that, but like, I'm really glad I did this. So I say this to say, this is really the time where it's not about getting in your head. And again, you see an attractive person, like, oh, just say something. Don't act first, think later. That was also deep hint into what we're going to be going, dude. Like, again, it's so much easier. It's so much easier than you guys fucking think. Like, I wish I could explain more about the webinar. I wish I could without spoiling it. And once you guys are there, you're gonna be like, oh, this is why you couldn't say more, because like, it's just, there's a certain framework that I'm gonna give you guys, and it's just gonna be something that I'm gonna tattoo into your brain, and that you're gonna be able to apply to anything that you're scared of in your life or anything that you want to get to, and you're just gonna go, oh, if I do this, then I'm gonna have this, and then this happens. It's that easy, and it's literally how the planets function. It's really exciting. It's really exciting stuff, and it's really good fuel for this year, because this is the year to do it. So let's get back to this. Mercury goes back into Pisces. Neptune goes into Aries. Neptune in Aries too is very romanticizing action. By the way, like, cowboys are coming back. Camouflage is going to be in fashion, in my opinion, because we're going to be in this wartime. Neptune in Aries is very cowboys and Indians kind of deal. It's very wild, wild west. This is also why, in my opinion, when you see like, oh, like New Orleans, there was a guy that mowed down a couple people in Las Vegas' bomb. You kind of need to like check-in, if that makes sense. Like, should you still go to fun events? Yes, you need to have fun. But should you be aware that, like, hey, shit's going to be wild and no one's going to be there to save you? Yes. But that means you should, again, when you can rely on yourself to have fun and you rely on yourself to have safety, like, it's so much easier when you have that in yourself. Anyway, Neptune goes into Aries, romanticizing war. Something I've talked about before too is they don't even need, like, if they wanted 9/11 to happen again, they wouldn't even need it to happen. They can just fake it with AI. They can just fake it with AI. So for example, when it's like, oh my God, fucking a missile hit Poland. A missile doesn't have to hit Poland. They could just say that, and then there's like 20,000 AI videos about it, and it goes like, well, fucking, we got the video about it. I guess Russia threw a missile in Poland. I guess we have to nuke them now. I guess we have to go into nuclear annihilation. I guess we don't have another choice. That's the type of shit you got to be aware of. They're going to sell you on this shit. And so Neptune going into Aries too is something I've been thinking about. Is Neptune going into Pisces has been like Neptune going into Pisces was like that height in the movies, in the cinematic world. Like that 2008, I mean, it was really 2011 is when Neptune went into Pisces. It was social media. Also, the rise of spirituality has been so big. Neptune in Aries is going to be this, like, I'm almost excited for like the romanticization of action, the romanticization of even like war, because not because like war is something to romanticize, but it always has been throughout time. But just the idea of you are a conscious being in a physical body that can change things. Think about that. You're not just this. We talk about mental health as if like you're just like this talking head in your, like, you're just this thing in your head and you're stuck in your body. You are your body. Like, and your body is such a fucking magnificent thing, and taking action and being able to, it's just so cool. So anyway, I'm really excited for like, what does romanticizing and idealizing action and drive and ambition look like for the next 15 years? I'm super excited about that. So anyway, Mercury goes back in. We get to April. Let's get to April. By the way, from here on out, it's really April and May. Things kind of chill. Why? You know what? I wonder if my keyboard's dead. Let me do this. Sorry, I'm trying to change my screens, but my keyboard is like not doing the thing. I wish I could take an intermission. Don't put Coke Zero in it. Anyway, let's do this. So, is this going to work now? Oh, something worked. Something flashed. I'll just do this. All right, so let's do that. Skirt. All right. So we get to April. How April's going to look. Venus, on the 1st, on April Fool's Day, Venus is going to be retrograde, conjoining the North Node in Pisces. Got you. Then Mercury, 3 days later, Mercury, as it's retrograde in Pisces, is going to conjoin the North Node. Then we have Mars trine Saturn. So there's like 3 Mars-Saturn trines during this Mars retrograde too, by the way, which is really interesting. Mars will trine Venus retrograde. That's also really nice. Venus retrograde conjoins Saturn. That is, again, coming back to this idea of the Venus-Saturn conjunction, where pleasure and fun and connection needs some sort of a boundary, needs some sort of like a serious part of it. Then Mercury stations direct on the 7th. Mercury then conjoins the North Node on the 10th, and then Venus stations direct on the 12th. So it's really like that last week of March and the first 2 weeks of April is really crazy. Sorry, I'm ready. Rick Amensi, take a break. Nah, breaks are for pussies. Just kidding. I did 3 clients today. I went and got mail because I finally got I have like a mailbox number, and they were like, well, it's like my mailbox is in front of my house. It's like a community mailbox. I didn't know what my mailbox number is. My landlord finally found out for me. But then I opened it and it was like, you've had too much mail in this shit. You got to go to the post office. So this morning I went to the post office, went and got this mail. It's like a fucking bucket of mail. And the people that lived here before, oh my God, I could not understand their politics. They were getting both Trump and liberal politic like newsletter. And it was like literally this much Trump and like pro-Trump, anti-Trump, like fucking political ads in their mailbox. It was like, you guys are ridiculous. And then it was like this much for like actually me. And then there's like this much bullshit. So I had to go get that. I went grocery shopping. Then I did 3 clients. I cleaned my house. I did a huge deep clean of my house. Had 3 clients and this live stream. We're getting it done. Anyway, so Venus stations direct. Now we have April continued. So that's the first 2 weeks of April, right? And it's really just, hey, Venus conjoins the North Node. Now, this is a retrograde Venus, right? This is that reevaluation of what we want, what we desire. It's an exalted Venus. Venus will be at her exalted degree. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Venus, oh shit. There we go. Venus is going to be at her exalted degree. Her exalted degree is 28 degrees Pisces. That's like her favorite degree to be in. That's where she fucks the most. So Venus is going to be there a few different times on top of the North Node. That's kind of a lot to really look at, to be honest with you guys. So Venus stations direct by the 12th. Now we get to the second part of April. Mercury, after it stations direct, moves back into Aries. April 18th is when Mars moves into Leo. This is what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. Hold on, Parker texted me. What do you guys want to say to Parker? Oh, that was really funny. Okay. So Mars moves back into Leo. So why is this important? This is also too why I've been saying this. Is this gonna let me work it now? Thank God. I think my keyboard must have died. So right, Mercury comes back. We're now in April. Mercury stations direct on top of Saturn. Let's visualize this. Venus conjoins Saturn and stations direct. By the way, this is all during Aries season when the sun is exalted the most. And then Mars moves into Leo. Okay. Think about this for a second. So Mars is in Leo, right? It's in Leo right now. And there's like this, I'm losing confidence. I have my tail tucked between my legs. And then we have all this shit changed. March is like, this crazy thing happens. This starts. Then after all of these changes happen, Mars goes back into Leo. This is why I've been on my shit about making this spring the time to do it. Because this is do you want this Mars ingress in Leo to make you feel like a big fat loser? Or do you want to be a winner? Do you want to be a loser? Or do you want to be a winner? Here's a better question. Are you a loser or are you a winner? I'm a winner. I don't lose. When Mars goes back into Leo, what the fuck? Oh, why's my aunt texting me? I love my aunt so much. She's so funny. Oh. Okay. This Mars ingress into Leo is going to be really a lot. And I think this is the time where you go, I fucking just won. I just did that. I just aced it. Or you could have won. What hurts more, the pain of making it all happen to win or the pain of watching what you could have been? This is why, because think about, again, this isn't just Venus kind of retrogrades and all this stuff changes and then Mars goes into Leo as if it doesn't mean anything together. After all that, then Mars goes into Leo? So all of these things change. Neptune goes into Aries, where we're now romanticizing and idealizing our actions. And then Mars, the planet of actions that rules Aries, goes into Leo, the sign of pride and being witnessed and on stage and glorified. I just look at that as this is going to separate the boys from the men. This is going to separate the winners from the losers. And that's sad to say. But we've all been there. There's times where you've been on the winning side and you were stoked. And there's times you've been on the losing side and you're like, damn, that fucking sucks. But there's so much that's happening here. And I think a lot of it is about, okay, when it was January 3rd of 2025, were you taking the action steps that you wanted to take? For example, I want to be an artist, right? I want to do music. I am literally just gonna go fucking crazy with music. I had like this idea of like, here's my plan, here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just literally wing it. I'm gonna wing it, and I'm gonna do everything it takes, and not, oh, I'm gonna work hard, but if it doesn't work, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do everything it takes. You guys are gonna be annoyed of me if you see me promoting my music. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but that's the price. That's what I want to do. And so I just look at this as you're not taking the actions because of how you feel right now. I want you to do the things that you know you're supposed to do, because this is the day where we decide winners and losers. And I want you to be a winner. And then Saturn conjoins the North Node. We get another Venus North Node conjunction. Venus conjoins Saturn again. Mercury leaves shadow again. Mars goes opposite Pluto again. Let's talk about that Mars-Pluto opposition again. Because as Mars goes opposite Pluto on April 26th, some of you, for example, I make up people and I call them retarded, and that they're doing the thing that you want to do, and there's retards doing the thing that you want to do. And some of you get really upset about that, right? Mars opposite Pluto. You guys make up people in your head that are haters that actually don't exist. You know, I always thought it was really funny when rappers are like, oh, my hater said I'd never make it, look at me now. And that's really motivating, right? I always love those kind of lyrics. But I look at my life, I'm like, no one ever actually told me I couldn't do it. And that's almost stings harder. That stings harder. Because everyone I've ever told my dreams, they go, dude, you could totally do that. I go, fuck, I can. And it makes it so much more real. It makes it hurt so much more that, like, yeah, people believed in me. Like, people are like, oh, I don't believe in you. That's a weak motivation. It's such a strong motivation when everyone believes that you can do it and you don't. So like that to me has actually been really fucking with me for actually a really long time. But this Mars-Pluto opposition is like, you guys, for some of you, what you want to do involves making a social media post. And some of you are so afraid of a hater. I get so much hate on my YouTube. Like, and it's just random stuff. And the thing is, people hate you if you work at a gas station. People hate you if you are a plumber. People hate you if you're a billionaire. They all fucking hate you anyway. People hate me because I'm me. People hate me because I do astrology. People hate me because I'm a man and I do astrology. People hate me because I use the cuss word. People hate me because I decided not to get a jab. And you know what? I'm still going to do whatever the fuck I want. And it's one of those things where that's not even like a, oh, you should live that way. There's no other way to live. If you are living for anything else but yourself, and what I mean by that is, I'm not saying be selfish, but if you're living, like, you are going to die alone. All you have is yourself and what you wanted to do. And if you're going to not do this thing because someone in your life right now may or may not like it, well, guess what? Are you going to die with them? Are you attached to them by the hip? Even if it's a spouse thing. I still yell at Twitter about you. No, I'm so glad I left fucking Twitter. They don't deserve me. Twitter's just a bunch of whiners and pussies, to be honest with you. In the astrology world, at least. But I ask you, with this Mars-Pluto opposition, you might be resting on your laurels a little bit. You might be proud of yourself, and people are going to hate you. My question for you is, are you going to do what you want and have people hate you, or are you going to not do what you want and still have people hate you? Those are your options. Those are your options. Do what you want, people hate you. Do what you don't want to do, and people hate you. Here's the other thing too. Let's go even deeper. Do what you want and hate yourself, or don't do what you want and hate yourself. Which one do you want to do? And so many of you just don't do it because it's scary. What's scary? What's really fucking scary? What's terrifying to me, now that I'm like 28, I feel old, even though I know I get how young I am. I feel like if it's not now, it's never. Like if someone asked us a long time ago about my Saturn return, I start my Saturn return this year. My Saturn return, by the way, is so fucking brutal. Like I really hope I don't die, or like, I don't know. Something bad might happen to me on my Saturn return. It's not looking too good, but we're gonna get through it anyway. But I look at this as, what's the T on Astro Twitter? Oh, don't go on Astro Twitter. It's just a cesspool. It's just a circle jerk of who can be the most victim and who can whine the most and who can be the most loud and most wrong. So I look at a lot of this Mars Pluto opposition is like, you probably get hate. And again, Pluto and Aquarius, like whether that's society, whether that's what the internet tells you, whether that's whatever. But it just, who cares? Oh, Raina, you're late. So Mars goes opposite Pluto, and then we have Venus entering Aries at the end. Venus goes back into Aries, where now we're a little bit back in our bad girl self. Now we get to May. May is really the last crazy month. It's pretty much crazy from here until May. June, Jupiter moves in Cancer. July, Uranus moves in Gemini. August is has both the worst transit and the best transit of the year. And then after that, things are pretty chill for the most part, to be honest with you. So sorry, this comment is captivating me. This is really funny. I'm 5'1". I bet you would date me. Born hated 100%. I want that as a bumper sticker. Born hated 100%. Yeah, I've never liked Elon Musk. I like that Elon Musk is very like, at least somewhat agreeable on things, but he's kind of just a pansy. Like him being like, oh, fucking, he's a pansy. Anyway, so we get to May. We have a Venus-Neptune conjunction in Aries. So we had a Venus-Neptune conjunction in Pisces twice, but now we have a Venus-Neptune conjunction in Aries. What's that about? Again, I said this on a live stream a while ago. Camouflage is back in fashion. I'm seeing it everywhere, by the way. This is very interesting to me, this Venus-Neptune conjunction. Romanticizing being bad, or romanticizing or idealizing, again, like the Jennifer's body kind of energy. And I feel like that's already kind of seen, but like this is really turned up to the max. So then Venus conjoins Neptune. That's on May 2nd. Check this out. Mars leaves shadow the next day. So we're done. No, December, not even a month ago, Mars stationed retrograde. We're not done with the Mars retrograde until this day. Until May 2nd. We have 5 more months of this story arc, guys. This isn't going anywhere. So this is why I'm so passionate about, like, look at how the series of events of these transits. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's go. What other series of transits could possibly happen that make you? And by the way, I've looked at every day for like the next 20 years, if not what I went a little bit into the 2050s. Once you start getting into the 2050s and you start thinking about Pluto and Pisces, you're like, all right, like I gotta turn off Astro Gold. But I've looked at every day for the next 20 years. I think at one point I've probably looked in the next 100 years, but in the next 20 years, there's nothing like this. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this year in the next 20 years. Minimum. For some of you, this might be the last 20 years you live. For some of you, this might be the first 20 years you actually live a life. Oh, my mom sent me a picture of Venus. That's so nice. She's so not like that. So Mars leaves shadow. We're done. Mercury then moves into Taurus. Skirt? Vibe shift? Taurus stuff. We've been in Pisces and Aries stuff for so long. What are we doing with Taurus shit? Mercury goes into Taurus. That's great. Venus leaves shadow on the 15th. Venus makes a trine to Mars. You want to talk about sexy? Venus and Aries trining Mars in Leo? You want to talk about hot and heavy? You want to talk about sweaty? And not sweaty as in the disc, sweaty as in like, oh, that was intense and fun. It's this. This is sexy. Venus and Aries trining Mars. So again, like it's almost one of those things that it pisses me off. Like I don't even want to be the person that like motivates you. Like I genuinely wish I could be a brain surgeon and fuck with your guys' brain just to like do the shit that you need. Like who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Because there's so much winning here. Like, do you remember Charlie Sheen in what was it, like 2008 when he was all coked out of his mind? He was like, Tiger's blood, winning, I'm always winning, like shit like that. Like that's kind of the vibe here. Now, get this. This is when things change. Saturn goes into Aries. Boop. Whoa. Vibe shift. Saturn going to Aries is probably going to be draft, or at least the workings of a draft. Saturn in Aries, though, is really interesting with governmental changes. So what I do find interesting is if Vivek and Elon Musk do the Doge thing. I'm so sick of Elon. I don't want a department called Doge. I don't want, why does everything gotta be triple X? Like, I don't want it. I don't want it. He's such a fucking millennial. But Saturn goes into Aries, and Saturn rules governments, and Aries is like restricted. Aries is, Saturn's fallen in Aries. So again, the idea of like the government being stripped away in a lot of ways seems very apropos to this. That's kind of the vibe. Now, the other part of this, though, is this is Saturn-Neptune. This is when the AI stuff really comes around. I've talked about, by the way, so what this really is the augmented reality singularity event. Virtual reality is not the move, it is augmented reality. Like, for example, in your car's windshield, like, there's already a little bit, but like that being a computer, you wearing glasses, and not like Apple Vision Pro where you look like a fucking doofus, but like actual glasses where you're interacting with the virtual world. That's what this is. This is Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is probably the augmented reality event. Just the Saturn-Neptune opposition in 2006 was the beginning of the iPhone. This is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. This is some sort of a wearable device on your face that will be really about media and immersive. And this is going to be really big about content creation, about social media, about internet, digital interfaces. This is really, really big. 2025, my bet is Apple is going to go, yeah, that Apple Vision Pro, we were fucking with you. Here's actually what we've been working on. And they're going to have a year for developers to do all their crazy stuff. In 2026 is when you actually see the tech being rolled out. That's my prediction. And I'm pretty fucking confident about that one. So that's happening during this time. This is around May, June anyway. So that's like Apple's stupid, like, they'll in June, they're like, we're gay. It's pretty much what Apple does every year. I forgot what it's called. They do a conference where they launch stuff. So anyway, this is also, again, I would pay attention to, like I said, Mr. Beast and Tim Pool. They have two things. There's another celebrity too I was looking at. Now, here's the other thing. Saturn-Neptune. So like I said, there's this war stuff that's going on. When Venus stations direct and leave shadow, which is around this time, I wonder how much it's, again, my bet is on Russia, NATO, or I should say, what I mean by Russia, NATO is something escalates with Russia. I can't say if they have a peace deal or not. I just don't think that's how it ends. Russia's taking whatever the fuck they want out of Ukraine. But my issue is the Saturn-Neptune stuff has been very big about Russia each time. Like I talked about that with S.J. Anderson on my show. I think S.J. Anderson stuff, like every astrologer is in agreement. Like we don't know why Saturn-Neptune has to do with Russia, but like anytime there's a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, it's like Russia's got something big going on. So that's happening. But the other part is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction was essentially the ending of the Korean War. And I do wonder, again, the hard part is Saturn and Neptune get within a degree of each other here. But Saturn and Neptune don't actually formally conjoin until spring of 2026. So what's hard to say is like there's all this buildup this year. And is it this year or is it 2026? I know for a fact America gets involved in 2026. I know for a fact if there is a civil war, it's in 2026. If there's a civil war here in America, it's in 2026. If there is a when will weaponized immigration stop? Not weaponized immigration is already the damage has already been done, but essentially once we get a digital ID and all that shit. So when xenophobia becomes violent, yeah, no, you guys. Anyway, so watch out for North Korea, South Korea, and then we get this Mercury Cazimi in Gemini. Not a big deal. Let's get to June. June is when things chill out a lot. Oh, someone in the comments said they just brought up Iran. Oh my God. By the way, can I just vent for a minute? Can I vent for a minute? I said Iran in one of my videos, and people go, Cameron, it's not Iran, it's Iran. Shut the fuck up. I've never seen an American go up to anybody that's speaking English, and maybe, for example, like when a Mexican goes like, Valmar, 18T. It's just what I'm saying. Like, why is every other country so anal about the way you say it? Like, America, I'm like, I get what you're saying. It's so annoying. Like, shut up. I'll say Iran however the hell I want to say Iran. Because that's how I say it. Like, we don't say, no, it's Walmart. It's oral. You're saying oil wrong. It's oral. Gotta say warsh. It's just, why are we, shut up. So anyway, Saturn-Neptune conjunction in 1953 was when we installed the Shah as the president, essentially, or the king of Iran. And so there is a really good chance that the Iran war happens. The Republicans really want a war with Iran. That's like the liberals just, they kind of want everything. They want Russia, NATO. Republicans want Iran and the border, which, by the way, the border is going to be a really big thing. And like war with the cartels. This is something that's been kind of like really building up for a long time that not a lot of people are talking about, but there is a really good chance we actually go to war with the cartels. That to me is the actual terrifying thing. And I wonder how much of that is actually about the Civil War stuff. Because like, if we go to war with the cartels, if you don't think every fucking little pocket, every little city in this country's got cartel activity in it, you are smoking dope. That is terrifying to me. If we do go to war with cartels, it's like, oh shit, like, ooh, that's a little scary. Anyway, let's get back to this. So let's get to June. What is Pride Month going to look like this month? Are we over? Is it going to be, I swear sometimes, like, you ever see like videos of like soldiers coming back home from World War I or World War II, and it's like New York City and there's like American flags everywhere. I feel like that's like Pride Month now. It's just like that. It's so crazy. Like, everyone chill out. But okay, look at June here. Yeah, transhumanism is on the way. Peep. It's just it's all fucked. It's all fucked. Anyway, let's look at this. So Venus goes into Taurus, Mercury conjoins Jupiter, Mercury enters Cancer, and Jupiter enters Cancer all by June 9th. It's funny that on the date of 6/9 is the day that Jupiter enters the sign of the 6 and the 9. So we have an exalted Venus, or we have a domicile Venus, we have an exalted Jupiter. Mars is doing just fine. June is looking pretty fucking sweet, to be honest with you. Jupiter in Cancer. So here's the thing. We do have Jupiter squaring Saturn. Again, we're in the middle of a Jupiter-Saturn square right now. This is the third and the last one. Again, a lot of this is again, digital ID stuff. Again, blockchain, all that shit. That's one part of it. On a more personal development level, Jupiter being in Cancer, Saturn being in Aries is like, something is really good, something is really hard. Because Saturn, a lot of Saturn and Aries, coming back to more of the personal development stuff that I was talking about, was like, these next few years aren't going to be easy. Like, let's say you make all of these changes in the way that you want to, and you're super excited, but then let's say the economy collapses, or we do go into war, and the global trade and the global order change, and that, again, just like I know I need to catch up on the Sean Ryan interview today. I want to get on Sean Ryan's show. If anyone's got a Sean Ryan connect, fucking let me know. But Saturn is about authority, restrictions, discipline, and it's fallen in Aries, where a lot of this is like, a lot of it's going to be on you. A lot of it's going to be on your own, and figuring it out yourself, which is fine. It's just going to be hard. I think that'll be a big difference for a lot of people. But then Jupiter going into Cancer is some sort of, again, Jupiter is about abundance, hope, and faith. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. For example, last time Jupiter was in Cancer was in 2000, what was between the summer of 2013 and summer of 2014. But the time before that was the summer of 2001 and December of 2002. Do you guys know how America was after 9/11? This country was like, fucking America. We love each other. We're someone that's super, like, we're great. All of that shit. Jupiter in Cancer is really going to bring up this like taking care of people vibe again. But and again, like, this is the other thing too. Like, what I found really interesting is when people are like, oh my God, the government safety programs are going to go away. It's like, that doesn't mean you're not going to have, like, Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries reminds me of like people who are very afraid of a government program being taken away. Like, there's going to be resources that are going to be there to help you. Like, I have a lot of teacher clients, and the teacher clients are very like nervous about the Department of Education going away. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys are just going to have more work. Like, you will not be you will not lose your job. You will just actually be more involved in curriculum and what you're learning and why. And it's actually pretty great. Department of Education, ever since the Department of Education, every test score in this fucking country has sank. There's literally like, it's like, imagine you started taking Ozempic and you started gaining weight. You'd probably want to get rid of Ozempic. That's exactly what getting rid of the Department of Education is going to do. It can't get worse. Anyway, so that happens. We're looking forward to Jupiter in Cancer. This is getting pretty fun. Jupiter square Saturn. Mars goes into Virgo. Mars going into Virgo is definitely getting a little anal. Not as fun as Mars in Leo. But when Mars goes into Virgo, very stinky, very kind of anal, very orderly. This is just when things really chill out, in my opinion. Like April, May, and June, or I should say March, April, May is really like loud, really fast. This is like, we're kind of settling into all of the new stuff now. So that happens. Jupiter squares Neptune, though. This is the really interesting thing to me, that like I was looking at this and I'm not really sure what to make of it. Like, if Jupiter is about faith and belief, and it's squaring Neptune in Aries, this is kind of like, I don't know. I guess it's hard to say. It's like, again, it's really dependent on how much war stuff is going on, but this reminds me of like, we're not going to let them divide. Like, what was remember when Shia LaBeouf, after Trump won, he like had a flag. He's like, he will not divide us. He will not divide us. That's very this, I feel like, but in a way of like, I don't know how to think about this, but Jupiter squares Neptune. Let's keep it moving. For again, the most part, that this is the majority of the year, by the way. Sun conjoins Jupiter, Mercury goes into Leo, Mercury goes into Shadow. We're going to have a Mercury retrograde in Leo. I want to get to July. July is when we get a few more changes. June is pretty chill for the most part, though. I think June in retrospect is really chill. By the way, I knew this was going to take a while. I'm almost out. I brought a second Coke Zero. So, here's where I'm at. When we get to here, the big thing is Uranus is moving into Gemini. That is also going to be very big about currency, global currencies, and what happens with the dollar and all that kind of good shit, right? Like, I've talked about that with S.J. Anderson and all that. But what I'm really interested more is in the rebellion against technology around this time. I think people, like, again, I think people are going to get more and more, not offline, but for example, we're just using the iPhone for everything. I think we're going to be more individual media things. Like, I've got a lot more into ham radio because I think Uranus and Gemini is going to bring up ham radio in a lot of different ways, alternative ways of communicating, innovative ways of communicating. But I'm saying all this to say, like, the one thing I want to come back to real fast is, I want you to acknowledge we're in July. We're 6 months from now. Look how much is different by this point. So every planet So Pluto's now in Aquarius. It is right now, but now Neptune's in Aries. Now Saturn is in Aries. Now Jupiter is in Cancer. Now Uranus is in Gemini. And Mars is in a different sign in all other signs. This is very different from where you're at right now. And again, what I don't want you to be is in a situation where you are exactly where you are right now. Like, meaning your job has changed, your living situation has changed, everything has changed but you. Does that make sense? Have you ever met someone, or not met someone, but have you ever like left your hometown after high school and you came back and you talked to someone that didn't leave their hometown from high school and they're kind of exactly the same and you're like, ooh, cringe. Like I have buddies of mine that I've seen from high school that are like going through shit that I was going through like fucking 10 years ago, it feels like. And I'm just kind of like, you're just now going through that? You're just now realizing that? Because I say that to say, what is stopping you? Like, really, what is stopping you? Like, what I don't want you to say is, I don't want you to get your motivation from me and then just do the same thing. Like, I'm not here to just like give my energy to you and it just stays there. Like, it needs to continue. It's like hot potato. You need to put it somewhere. And again, there's not been a year that you've been alive where Pluto, Neptune, all of the planets have all moved zodiac signs within 6 months. You've not been alive for that. If you knew that the roulette ball was going to land on black, how much money would you put on black? If you knew the roulette ball was going to land on 36, I don't know if that's red or black. How much money would you put on 36? How much? Because I'm telling you guys, you're going to get here, and if you don't make the changes that you need to make, you're going to be like, it's not going to be here. It's not going to be at this moment. It'll be at the end of 2025. You'll go, wow, everything's really different, and I'm still kind of in the same spot. I'm still in the same spot. I want to know what is stopping you guys from moving forward. I want to know what's stopping you guys, what's hindering you guys from that. That's what the webinar is about. Is whatever the fuck is stopping you and inhibiting you, we're going to get rid of that. It's going to be very easy. Like an affirmation I'm making for myself this year is that it's easy. What I want is easy. It's easier than I think. What if it was easy? And again, I'm going to give you guys a fucking framework to make it even super, super way more. I'm giving you guys a framework to apply to everything to make it easy. Because again, astrology is a roadmap and a guiding is a guide to get us to where you need to go. If you want to join the webinar, it's this Sunday. The link is in the description. I keep asking questions. If it's going to be recorded, it will be recorded. When it will be available for purchase after, I don't know. Because I have a different thing to answer about that. But it's this Sunday. I don't know when you'll have access to it again. If you buy it and you can't make it, you'll get the recording if that's what you're asking too. But this is the time. The link is in the description. It's this Sunday. Join us because we're about to go fucking hard. It's also one of those things too where it's like you're not coming to a webinar. You're coming to like I have to do this kind of a thing. I don't get a choice. I have to do it. So anyway, we get here. We get to July, and the last thing that happens in July is really Venus conjoins Uranus. Venus enters Gemini. Neptune does station retrograde, which is also really interesting. So we get our little bit of a slowdown. What I mean by a little bit of a slowdown is everything is really direct up until this point. Once we get to July, everything starts going retrograde again. So Uranus goes into Gemini. Saturn stationed retrograde. So Neptune and Saturn both stationed retrograde in July. And this is also something I'll teach about in my planets course too. But as both of these kind of slow down, right? Have you ever been in the middle of an adrenalizing event And then after it slows down, you kind of get the shakes and you're like, what the fuck just happened? That's what July is about. And Uranus going into Gemini doesn't fucking help that. So the big thing I want to bring up too is Saturn and Neptune get within 8 minutes of each other on July 16th. So we're not getting the Saturn-Neptune conjunction exactly this year, but they're getting within 8 minutes of each other. That's a lot. That's really fucking close to that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Mercury stations retrograde in Leo. Mars conjoins the South Node. I've actually had my eye on this Mars-South Node conjunction, to be honest. Like, the more client work I'm doing that goes into July, the more I'm like, damn, this Mars-South Node conjunction is kind of tough, to be honest with you. It kind of comes out of left field. Like, we're not even paying attention to Mars at this point. That it's like, oh, Mars conjoining the South Node in Virgo is so, like, it's like, imagine you're at work and you're supposed to be doing all this tiny little stuff to organize everything, and then you finally do it, and then your boss is like, oh, we don't need that anymore. Move along. And you're like, what did I do all that for? This is a little, like, Mars and Virgo is, again, very detailed oriented, little anal, like I said, little stinky, little anal. But Mars conjoining the South Node is draining, exhausting. It's letting go of something. I one of my favorite transits I ever got was I quit soda for like 9 months. I was a fucking soda addict. I'm an addict, by the way. This is why, like, quitting weed for me and cigarettes, it's a big deal. Like, I'm addicted to fucking everything. But on a Mars South Node, the Mars South Node conjunction in Sagittarius, I quit soda for like 10 months. Ugh, I felt so good. I felt so cool. Like, yeah, I don't fucking drink that shit. Here I am downing Coke Zeros. Mars South Node, great time to eliminate something from your life. Great time. So, Mars conjoins the South Node. And so, like I said, I spent a lot of time talking about the spring. We get to the summer and things are much, much, much more chill at this point. They're not nearly as extreme as they were. Here we go. Venus moves into Cancer. We get the Mercury retrograde Cazimi at the same time. Now, August. This is really the last month to talk about. So August is quit weed. Mars goes into Libra. Mars trines Uranus. That's kind of fun. This day right here, Mars conjoins Saturn. Now the other thing is we get Venus conjoining Jupiter like 2 days later. But I want to show you this. Where, whoops, there it is. So there's a specific set of kids born in 1997. But look, Mars is in Libra. Mars is in detriment in Libra, where it doesn't function all that well. Libra is about diplomacy, being nice, being balanced, being fair. And Mars is about like war and action and hurting people. So of course Mars does not do well in the justice sign. But Saturn is also in Aries, where it's fallen, where like restrictions or governments or rules and regulations are less, and these two things are at odds with one another. This is a really tense day. This is probably, in my opinion, the worst day of the year, is August 9th. That scared the shit out of me. August 5th, Friday, August 5th. Probably the worst day of the year, to be honest with you. But what's really interesting is look at this. Venus conjoins Jupiter 3 days later. This is the best transit of the year. Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. Venus is in Cancer. This is very, I made this joke somewhere. Whether it was on my Patreon, not my Patreon, my memberships, somewhere. But like, this is very like big mommy milkers kind of energy here. Like you ever have a grandma that kind of grabbed your cheeks? This is very that kind of energy. It's very loving. It's very giving. It's very, I baked you an apple pie, visiting grandma in the South, hot Georgia day kind of stuff. That's kind of what's happening during this time. So this is like the best transit of the year, and it follows up the worst transit of the year. It's really funny to me. Everyone's saying quit soda. Okay, I get it, fuckers. I will. And no, I'm not going to switch to veggies and juices. Veggies, gross. Veggies, No, I'll probably just fucking go back to carbonated water and just regular water. I'm mostly a coffee drinker. Anyway, and everyone's like, this can be bad for your teeth. Shut up. Let me live my life. So, we get back to here. No, that's not what I want. There we go. Uranus also sextiles Saturn, which is really interesting. That's going to be very innovative with like military tech, but you probably won't see that on the surface. Then we get Venus in Leo, Venus making a trine to Saturn, Venus trining Neptune. I like this August 25th, 26th timeline. Venus entering Leo and trining Neptune. This is also right on my sun. Very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very sexy is probably the way I'd look at it. Very, very sexy, very fun. Very, I wonder what kind of movies are going to come out around this time. So, we get to September, and look. So, September's eclipse season, which means whatever started in March, we get to bring back up again. But what I want to emphasize is the year's done at this point. It's pretty chill. It doesn't get crazy again until February of 2026. Like, I would argue January, February, March, April of 2026 is not nearly as crazy, but that's the next crazy time. It's not nearly as crazy. April of 2026 is rough. April of 2026 is like lockdown level. Like, when I say lockdown, like the last time, like when we had lockdowns, like that level of like serious. So Saturn goes back into Pisces though on September 1st. That's the other thing, guys. We get to September and Saturn's back in Pisces. We get the taste of Aries stuff. And now we're back into Pisces. Where again, now we're going back to that spiritual internal stuff. It's in October when Neptune goes back into Pisces. So we're not done with this Pisces stuff yet. But there's so much that's like thrown at you. And then things kind of retrogress and chill out again. They go back into Pisces. There's like, but we get this beginning that comes up and then things slow down where we have to kind of like do some closing out of stuff before we can begin again. Mars makes a square to Jupiter. That's a little tough. Uranus stations retrograde. We get this lunar eclipse in Pisces. Now, here's what's really interesting is all of the stuff that you started in March comes back up here on September 7th. We have that lunar eclipse. The sun on the south node. So again, when it comes to what are you doing in your life and all the changes that you're going to make in March, you're going to make all these changes because you're going to realize how easy it is to hit all of your goals and to make all these changes because you're going to be at my webinar. And then by this point, this is kind of like, for example, there's like quitting your job, right? Like being like, fuck it, I'm going to quit my job. And then there's you quit your job, you get this new job, and then you're kind of like back to normal again. That's almost what this reminds me of, is kind of back to normal, kind of bringing up that kind of part of your life. Like, oh, you quit your job, now you're at this new job, now you have to transfer your 401k. Now you have to do the health insurance stuff. Now you need to do whatever. That's kind of the vibe of this. This is yes, it's eclipse season. Yes, eclipse season is always crazy, but it's not, I just feel like an eclipse season after this is not nearly as crazy as it was. We get our solar eclipse in Virgo. Mars moves into Scorpio, though, which is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to this year's Mars in Scorpio events. Mars will just, because Mars is going to be falling in Libra. It's not going to be fun. There's just a lot of low energy, a lot of like not feeling it, a lot of weakness. Venus moves into Virgo at the end of September too, which is a little annoying, but Mars moving into Scorpio is like feeling a little bit more driven. Venus and Virgo is just feeling a little bit more picky about yourself. Venus has fallen, Sun has fallen, but Mars, like we may not be feeling good, but we're still fucking hustling. We're still taking the work. What I want to get to is October, because in October, Venus will conjoin the South Node. This is, again, like a lot of Venus in the South. Venus and Virgo conjoining the South Node is like, did you guys watch? It's not Miss Congeniality. It's is it the Princess Diaries? Is it the Princess Diaries where they take her and she's like this fucking nerd and they're like, you look like a fucking nerd. That's not a princess. And then they like make her like super hot. That's like Venus and Virgo conjoining the South Node. They're like, enough with this nerd look. Like, stop. You look gross. Like, enough thrifted clothes. Be a princess. Look good. That's like Venus and Virgo conjoining. Venus and Virgo conjoining the South Node is so like the hand-me-down look is not flying right now. It's not giving cunt, if you know what I mean. Mercury goes into Scorpio, but then Venus goes into Libra, and this is kind of what I'm more looking forward to is once we get to about that October 13th time. It says when we get to about that October 13th time, there we go. Venus is in Libra and Mars is in Scorpio, where I really like the small times that we get. Shit, I dropped my Apple Pencil. We get just a lot of dignity. Like Mars being dignified and Venus being dignified. What we want, what we desire is dignified, and the way that we're going about it is also dignified. It just things are super easy here at this point. And then it's literally the next transit. Mercury conjoins Mars. That's pretty sharp with the tongue. It's this Neptune retrograding into Pisces thing. So I talked to S.J. Anderson about this. If you haven't watched my podcast with him about money, you should. But he has some stuff about how like the economy is supposed to crash around this time, which is really interesting to me. But Neptune going back into Pisces, this is going to feel so weird. With Saturn and Neptune going back into Pisces is so, after all of the shit that we're going to have, it's going to be a weird return to normality. I don't even say, normality, but just kind of like, whoa, I forgot we had a Saturn Neptune. Like all of a sudden the Pisces energy comes back up again, where if Aries is about taking action, and Pisces is about closing things out and doing that internal work that, like, again, like go like the yin version, the internal version of like spiritual work. We're back to that. So this is kind of like, again, in my opinion, I think we're just going to have so much thrown at our faces that we don't have a choice but to really go inside and kind of do like that was a lot. I need to actually process that. I think a lot of this is processing. Why is it crashing coming October? I forgot why. We recorded that like a year ago, like over a year ago. He lays it out, and I forgot why. Anyway, Mars trines Jupiter, Mars trines Saturn. Great, we love that. We get this like Mars water. We get this water trine situation going on, right? Jupiter is in Cancer, trining Mars in Scorpio with Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter's exalted, Mars is in domicile. There's like this really awesome water trine that's going on. And it's very opposite the water trine stuff that we have going on at the beginning of this year with Mars in Cancer and like Mercury in Pisces. It's like, that's not good. So there's that. I mean, again, we're in October now. November. Look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. This part of the year flies by. Mars goes into Sagittarius. That's cool. Venus goes into Scorpio. Uranus goes back into Taurus. Now we have Neptune back in Pisces, Uranus back in Taurus, Saturn back in Pisces. It's kind of like, whoa, we're moving backwards. We still have some stuff to take up. Mercury stations retrograde, Jupiter stations retrograde, Mercury conjoins Mars, Saturn stations direct, and Mercury stations direct. So the beginning of November is a bigger slowdown part because of all the retrogrades. What you'll see here is Mercury, there we go, stationing retrograde on top of Mars. That's a little frustrating. Jupiter stations retrograde as well. But then once we get more towards the end of November, this is when Saturn stations direct. And I believe Neptune stations direct in December. But Mercury stations direct as well. So November's kind of a weird month where it's like there's some things that are like really moving backwards and then other things that are kind of moving forward. Again, that's what's really difficult about talking about 2025 is there's so much that happens so soon, and then the rest of the year is kind of like a regular year, if that makes sense. Like this seems all very normal, regular astrology to me. And then we get to December, and this is really it, guys. We have a Mars-Saturn square. That's a little tough. I have actually been keeping my eye out on that one. This is on December 9th. Look, Mars and Sag squaring Saturn and Pisces. Just a lot of going nowhere fast, to be honest with you. And again, the other thing too is this is so like I can't. I've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, I know the astrology of the next 20 years really well. The first 6 months of this year are so like bamboozling wild that like this is so mundane and regular. Like this is just like normal day stuff that then launches us into 2026, which 2026, the beginning of 2026 is really similar to the beginning of 2025. But Neptune stations direct, Mercury goes back into Sag, Mars squares Neptune. That's a little confusing. Mars goes into Capricorn before the end of the year. We like that. I love this Mars Capricorn transit. Venus squares Saturn and Neptune, and then Venus goes into Capricorn, and that's the year. And the reason I kind of flew by that is when we actually look at January of 2026, we get what's cool about January of 2026 is we get both a Venus cazimi and a Mars cazimi in Capricorn. And it's really crazy. The last time we had these, like, it's like there's like a handful of Mars Venus conjunctions in Capricorn. Like since 2021, every Mars Venus conjunction is like in Capricorn. And like that happens until like 2030 something. It's like Mars and Venus are always together in Capricorn, but we get this Venus cazimi in Capricorn. And then later on we get a Mars cazimi in Capricorn. And that's how we start January off. But what we're really looking at is here. And once we get to about, what day is it? February, right? Yeah. February, there we go. 20th is when we get the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So we pretty much start the year off that way. Why I've talked about April being really bad is, look, by the way, you guys want to know what's crazy? I'm not even exaggerating when I say this is the day of my Saturn return. This isn't like it's kind of close to this day. My Saturn return is the Mercury-Mars-Saturn conjunction. This is not looking good for me. I don't know what else it's going to be, but this is a pretty intense little conjunction. The lockdowns happened during a Mars-Saturn conjunction. Was the invasion? I don't remember. Yeah, the invasion of Ukraine was pretty close to a Mars-Saturn conjunction, but not exactly. So this is pretty intense. But anyway, that's 2025, guys. That's 2025. And we're 3 days into it. And we've already had 2 explosions. We've already had 2 terrorist attacks. So again, we're in a very, very different place by the time we end this. And 2026, it's kind of like hard to exactly show you everything else that's going on. This would be a much longer video. It's already been very long, and I'm sure some of you are pretty sleepy because you're on the East Coast. But yes, I'm going to put all the year ahead horoscopes together. I'm going to do it, but I wanted to do this video as just like, here's what's going on. We have a lot going on, and I want to make sure you guys actually jump on it. I think we'll end that here. I need to go get dinner. Like I said, join the webinar on Sunday. The link is in the description. This is the time. I don't want you, again, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about this webinar and giving this to you guys because I think it's going to be really easy to take the act. Like, again, just getting the framework that I've had with this has been pretty mind blowing for myself, and to a way that it almost pisses me off because it is really easy and I know what I have to do, and we're just doing it now. The webinar is $150. That price will go probably up. Probably tomorrow because it'll be available on Sunday, and then it'll be available at some point to have. I don't know when because that's a whole other conversation of stuff I got to do. That's a whole bigger problem. But anyway, definitely check it out. And with that being said, you guys will be getting the weekly horoscope on Sunday when I'm doing the webinar. And that's it. I'll be seeing you guys after that. Ciao.